One night, the main character learned that she had been accepted into a Korean university, the most famous in the world. However, her feelings did not match what was expected. Screams were heard in the palace. The maid recoiled in horror from the empress, realizing that a girl had been born. Whispers began around. No one believed that a lady had been born. A baby girl was born into the Violet-ian imperial family, which was surprising, as only boys were supposed to be born in the family. The lady rose in bed, looking at the child in surprise. His Majesty enters the chambers. He looks at his daughter and chuckles, his face clearly expressing displeasure at what kind of useless thing was born today. The man examines the heroine. She stops crying, only looking intently at her father. The worried voice of the servant is heard, because the princess has the mark of Enir Vidal on her hand. As is known, everyone who is born with such a mark on their body died at the age of. In other words, the girl will not live long. Although this is, of course, sad for her parents. The man doesn't want to listen. He's not interested, and he leaves the room. The lady reaches out to her child. She's sorry that the little one was given life in a world like this. The princess stretches her arms towards her mother. It becomes clear that she wants to be as close as possible. The blonde takes her in her arms and hugs her as close as possible. She wants to protect her. The little girl actually knows that everything will be fine when she learns to speak. She will definitely repeat everything. The girl is not destined to be a sword master, however. She is quite smart. The heroine knows the future. She knows about the most powerful people in the world, about the magicians who will change the future, about magical energy, and also, the names of the mothers of famous businessmen are stored in her head. One would like to think that with such knowledge in her head, the beauty will be able to avoid her death, because this world was described in the novel after the villainess dies, which the maiden read in the past. The Violet-ians were the imperial family mentioned in the book. They held traditions sacred, where a person's value was considered to be strength, and for years, only boys were born there. The clan's special sword-wielding style was developed based on the magical abilities of men only, therefore girls cannot learn it. Being born as a woman into a family where power plays a major role is almost like a curse. The baby was unlucky enough to be born into such a family, and she has no future. The mother cries almost every day. She hugs the child and repeats words of apology. Violet-ian, unfortunately, cannot say that she is actually okay. She cannot speak yet. When the maiden first opened her eyes, she was surprised, because she did not think that she would find herself in another reality. The answer to all the questions came almost immediately, because in the past, she reread the novel times. Isabel was a sickly child from birth, because she had the mark of Enir Vidal on her hand. There was a legend that when the last grain of sand in the hourglass fell, the owner of the tattoo would die. According to the story, the little girl died at the age of. The girl understands that while she still has time, she can live and enjoy herself, one way or another, 20 years, more than enough to enjoy herself. The little girl grabs the empress's dress with her hands, and she, smiling, asks if her daughter is calming her down. She understands that it seems her words are understood. The girl nods in agreement, but she can't help but remember the past. In Korea, she was an orphan, and she also fought cancer from the age of 4. Thanks to donations, the little girl practically lived in the hospital. In contrast to her poor health, the girl had an incredibly sharp mind. Many people were glad that the beauty was lucky with her knowledge, but in fact, she was completely unhappy. The blonde asks the maid if her daughter really understands words. According to the servants, the little girl is considered a real genius. You can even tell by her. The child smiles and raises his hands up again. This once again shows that the girl likes compliments. This cannot but be considered cute. The empress hugs the baby. She will not demand anything from her. She only wants the girl to grow up healthy and happy. The family will give her all the best. Nobody knows that the girl was reborn. Nobody knows that for a new life. For her it is like heaven. It makes one rejoice. In the family, since ancient times, there is one tradition called the selection ceremony. This ceremony is very similar to the dulai I held in Korea. In the kingdom, the ceremony is much more serious than in the princess's previous homeland. The baby already saw her father at birth, but this is the first time she will meet her brothers. The girl couldn't believe until the very end that she would meet the characters of her favorite book, and even if she looked at them for years, she wouldn't get tired of it one bit. In the hall, right in the middle, there's a dark thing. This is not just a thing, because it is a truly great sword, and a symbol of the Violet-ian family called tsunami. For many years, the princes of the family gathered in the hall where the ceremony was held. This was proof of their noble origin. The Council of the Sword is a powerful organization that greatly aided the Violet-ian family's rise to the throne, and among them were traditionalists, who were against the princess's education. As soon as the little girl touches the sword, the killer appears. The princess, fortunately, managed to survive. However, she is not the real Isabel. Relying on luck alone, she dooms herself to premature failure. The beauty is not going to die. She has not really enjoyed the sight of the beautiful people around her. She cannot leave just like that. The castle is always full of delicious treats, which Isabel also can't refuse. She wants to try all the variations of cakes and pastries. The heroine promises herself that she will definitely eat her fill of the food that, due to illness, she could not afford in her past life, when she was scolded even for a sip of soda. The best solution is, of course, to deviate from the original plot of the novel. The more variables change, the more it will affect the future. The Duke orders the sword to be chosen. It is clear that if the heroine chooses Tsunami, she will be immediately attacked, but if she chooses chooses another, she will never be recognized as a princess, leaving only one option. The girl thinks that she can choose the Emperor's sword, but this would be completely out of character for the time, this travel genre. She should grab hold of her cold and distant father. I want to start moving, but it becomes clear that after thinking about the killer, the body completely refuses to move. There's nothing to be done about it. After several days in the new world, the beauty realized something despite the memories of the past. The body remains at the level of a child, so thoughts affect the physical state. The beauty forces herself to move forward. She has nothing to fear. People around her admire her. They do not understand what exactly the young princess is going to do. The child's body is easy to control. Humming a song to herself, the heroine crawls forward. The gentleman does not understand what the strange girl is going to do. So far it is completely unpredictable. Blonde man standing nearby notes that there is a possibility that Isabel could have remembered the magic song. This is a rare, but still historically confirmed phenomenon. The emperor thinks this is absurd, however. The girl's mother sang songs at about the same age. This is an interesting, phenomenal case. It is worth noting, the blood of the Violet-Ian clan flows in the baby's body. It is strange that the princess of the Empire of Swordsmen has a gift for magic spells. The girl continues to climb, however. She did not think that the steps would be so high. They are difficult to overcome. The only good thing is that the killer never showed up, because the little girl never touched that great sword. It's difficult for her, but it's worth it to get to the very top, to the end of the stairs. There are not many steps left. She just needs to overcome the last obstacles. The beauty understands that her heart and lungs are starting to hurt. There is too much movement. The blonde is fine. Although she is very out of breath, despite everything, she is having a lot of fun. She cannot refuse something like this, because she has a mission. The past hasn't disappeared anywhere. It remains in the mind. The memories hurt. Before, only with a deep breath in the chest, it showed and hurt a lot. The beauty finally climbed up. She was happy that everything worked out and looked around the room. People looked back in surprise. The moment the girl had been waiting for so long had arrived. She clings to her father with her hands and calls him, and then her mother, all the while continuing to smile radiantly, which is certainly not quite typical of her. The man looks at his daughter with displeasure, while the girl snuggles up to his leg. The smell is wonderful, making you want to curl up and fall asleep as quickly as possible. Voice is heard. It is one of the brothers, the eldest son of the family named Sermon Violet-Ian. The boy will not be able to resist cuteness, so the beauty uses it as she wants. The third son of the family, Mikhail Violet-Ian, and the second son, Cayman, walk forward, the youngest assuring that he is the sweetest, but in response, he is only told that this is not true. The girl presses herself closer to the leg and continues to smile. She didn't want to laugh, but suddenly, she feels that she can no longer hold back, perhaps all because of the dazzling brothers. The guys from Gemrim Von standing to the side can't say anything. Their attempt on their life has failed, and nothing changes. Silence hangs in the hall for a while. After the ceremony, they will do nothing. The heroine is going to see her plan through to the end. She chooses her father, or rather, the imperial sword. The little girl calls for her father. She diligently practiced the pronunciation. It must be made clear that she chose his sword, and of her own free will. No one asked her. The emperor's assistant smiles at the princess, amused by the fact that the girl answers the questions posed. The way Baton addresses her is truly priceless. The Lord addresses His Majesty. He was chosen because the Lord is the best sword in the empire. The smile disappears from his face as he directs an evil gaze, silencing him. The emperor does not understand whether the young man is really so stupid that he thinks he can talk to a baby. If anyone else had been so impudent, he would have been punished long ago. The green-eyed man appreciates this attitude. 1-year-old children can talk, especially if they are naturally gifted. The man makes it clear that this is true, and it is worth knowing. The Lord gets down on one knee. He is going to prove that his words are true. The princess carefully watches his actions, understanding what will happen next. The child is asked if she clearly understands what is being said. She nods in response. This is the confirmation that was needed. It seems that His Majesty does not realize this. The gentleman was too talented a child, so he developed the conviction that if he couldn't do something, then others couldn't either, and even if they tried, they still couldn't achieve the same thing. Even though Violet-Ian couldn't speak at such a young age, it doesn't mean the princess can either. The little girl laughs. She knows what we're talking about, so she likes what's happening. Ron was a genius from birth. He achieved everything, and always considered himself right. He was proud and stubborn, but now, listening to the Lord, he understands that what is happening is nonsense. The blonde doesn't listen. Turning to the girl, he asks her to try winking at him. Violet-Ian repeats after him and smiles, for which she is immediately praised. The young man decides to check something else. He asks to wink with the other eye, and in response to this, the beauty winks again, realizing that a new wave of admiration will follow. The Empress smiles. Isabel's brothers can't stop looking at how cute their sister is. It's the first time something like this has happened. She really is very smart. The Lord turns to His Majesty. He again notices that the little girl is behaving quite sweetly. Her wink should be taken as proof of her awareness. The man is unhappy. The beauty cannot say why she is so disliked. Suddenly her leg starts to wobble. Very soon she falls to the floor. It will hurt. Everyone freezes. Baton is about to grab the princess, but at the last moment, the emperor protects her. The blonde realizes that what is happening is really funny. For her it is shameful. The young man decides to test her abilities. He asks the girl's name, and then his name. She calmly answers both questions. It's not a problem. The baby is placed in the arms of the assistant, after which the gentleman rises from his seat and looks around the room before beginning to speak. Baden is asked again which sword the princess chose. A smile appears on his face immediately when the man gives an answer. The choice fell on the strongest blade of the empire. She chose the emperor. The secretary will record the choice, after which loud sounds will be heard. People around will applaud what is happening. The ceremony has ended successfully. The change of the original was successful. Virgo feels dizzy. A similar feeling she experienced in the past when she lost consciousness. She becomes scared, because suddenly, after this, the lady will find herself in the hospital, in a place where only the smell of medicine. The woman hates the way she feels. She doesn't want to lose consciousness. Someone said that the lady was born with an illness because of a sin committed in the war. All I want is for the sin to be forgiven. The baby will be happy to live to 21. She will live very well and take care of everyone. Even in return, she will give love to her family. Your eyes suddenly open. The girl is sitting on your hands. This is completely unusual. Your father's voice is stern as usual. It seems like you've finally woken up. The Lord asks if the princess is very tired. The ceremony is over. She can sleep a little more, since there is nothing else to do anyway. Isabella tried hard. She was praised. She understood that she couldn't let herself down, however. Suddenly tears began to flow from her eyes. The beauty sobbed, tearing her throat. In the original, the imperial family is bloodthirsty and merciless. They think nothing of throwing away a crying baby. Tears flow not of their own free will. They come through force, and this cannot help but irritate. The Lord intervenes. He asks to be allowed to help. The girl remembers her mother. Newborns have an instinct. She feels that she truly misses the empress. The child is picked up, and almost immediately she stops crying. She finds it more comfortable to sleep with Baitan than with her father. The brunette finds a way to answer, while being sarcastic. Perhaps it's because you don't have any muscles. The Greenian is about to take the princess to the nursery. It's time for her to go to bed. Her Highness smiles. This smile is filled with warmth. The path of a lady and a cutie. But if she doesn't smile, she will become more like a monster. The beauty likes Baitan. She understands that he treats her well. The beauty read the novel, so she knows what the Lord's past was. A kind man, so tactful, was a mercenary and a ghost sword. This is undoubtedly the author's mistake. Finally, the girl went to bed. They put her in the crib. Before closing the door, the man looked at her with eyes full of warmth. Several months of peaceful life pass. When the child is tired, she sleeps, and when she opens her eyes, she eats. Thanks to food she grows, and so on in a circle. This is how all the days pass. Her vocabulary is growing by leaps and bounds, and her mother doesn't understand how a beauty can speak so calmly at her age. The nanny, just like the empress, is completely delighted. They looked tenderly at the baby, and she does not mind their excessive attention, so she continues to speak. One of the maids heard that even in the magic association, there are no children who can remember spells. Isabella is definitely a genius in her family. This cannot but make one happy. The beauty will increasingly enjoy the attention that is showered on her. She will not get tired of what is given to her, and will continue to behave as sweetly as possible. This time, the little girl pretends to do push-ups. She lowers herself onto the mat, and makes her mother gasp with another wave of admiration. The girl would never have thought that she would be so dependent on attention at 2 years old. She does what some cannot do even at 20, perhaps because of her father's genes. The prince from the family could already split a stone with a sword at the age of 10. Knowing their ancestors, this was truly an achievement. The father's voice is heard. He asks his wife why she is so happy. For the first time since the ceremony, he appeared to his daughter, and several months had passed. Serna asks why the man did not knock. The man turns around and leaves. This time he knocked. The beauty thanks her beloved for doing the right thing. The young man's look reflects embarrassment. Although the father never loved children, the mother loved him very much. The baby is placed in a cradle. She tries to never make any mistakes so that she will not be hated. Her mother is also upset, but understands that there is nothing she can do about it. The empress suffered while giving birth to her daughter, but in the imperial family being a girl is tantamount to a curse, especially with the mark of an Arvidal. The king's words are a little offensive. The best thing is to think positively. The girl is also quite unusual. She attracts everyone's attention. The emperor, in the novel, was a powerful swordsman, rivaling the protagonist. His only weakness was the empress, whom he loved deeply. The woman became the main reason for his defeat. After Serna's death, the man's world became empty. Ron, who dedicated his life to the revival of the empire, simply cried constantly. Gradually, the young man grew weaker. Days passed. Nothing changed. Eventually, he was defeated by the main character, and then the state fell into decline. The gentleman looks rude and fierce, but in reality he is a nice guy who simply cares about his wife. The girl meets the man's gaze. The little girl calls for her father and mother, not understanding what is happening. The young man asks what she is doing. The girl seems to drown in his eyes. The warm color attracts attention. Isabella should have exactly the same eye color. She wants to see herself in the mirror, but she can't yet, because she's still too young. The beauty says that she loves her father, but for 3 hours there is a deathly silence in the room. She herself does not understand why she said this. Perhaps this is also the influence of the body. The embodiment cannot resist the instinct. The brunette comes closer, and in a low voice asks to repeat what was said. The blonde doesn't know if she did something wrong. She hopes not, but the atmosphere in the room indicates something completely different. Although the relationship between father and daughter should be different, it doesn't look like it will be close at all. The father looks like he's about to lash out. He's very angry about what's happening. The man seems to understand that the girl is afraid, and says that she is not angry. The Empress intervenes. The gentleman is much more shy than he seems. The blonde recommends that His Majesty be honest, at least with his daughter. He doesn't need to be afraid of his family. Isabella's mother tells her that she doesn't need to be shy either. Every day, the beauty shows her daughter that she needs to give love and care. She suggests asking the girl for a hug, and the little one reaches out her hands. Isabella wants to be hugged. Her father snorts. He is being disturbed. Princess Vela Ian has no right to be so spoiled by the attention of those around her. It becomes clear that the young man will do nothing. The beauty is ready to fall back into the cradle, but this time, she knows that she is not in danger of a strong blow. A moment passes. As the gentleman lifts the little girl into his arms, he finally decided to do this. He holds the child, not as if at a ceremony, but really hugs her. The Empress smiles and comes over to help. She advises to support the head to make it more comfortable. You need to imagine hugging, and not just holding in your arms. The baby is too light for the gentleman, but for everyone else she is quite heavy. She has gained weight and grown a little since the ceremony. Once upon a time, the couple was worried about their first child, all because he was growing slowly. They thought that there was definitely something wrong with him. Still, everything is fine with the boy. His difficult time is over, and now all that remains is to make sure that no problems arise with Isabella either. The baby smiles. She likes to be in her arms. She feels the warmth coming from her father, which makes her feel even more pleasant and joyful. The beauty finally understands what it is like to be under the care of a family in her past life. It was more of a luxury. The little girl had no family. Her father abandoned her when she was still a child. Everything has changed in the new future. The girl will be grateful that she was given a new opportunity to live her life properly. Smiling, the child declares that his mother has a gift. Ron thought so hard that it seemed to him that in his hands, instead of his daughter, there was a box with a bow. When the Empress asked if Ron was okay, he just waved her off. A strange atmosphere hung in the hall. The blonde felt like she couldn't breathe. The woman calms her husband down a little. She knows that the strongest heart knows the value of life. She likes the tender side of the young man. The heart is beating so hard that it seems as if the beauty will go deaf. The gentleman really can't resist. He won't be able to withstand it at this rate, but still, the situation is fine. The baby is not going to interfere in their personal life. Maybe she should back off as soon as possible and leave them alone. With time, everything will change. The girl learned when to intervene, and when it was better to sit quietly, so she just went to dreamland. She got very tired sitting on her hands. Night has fallen. The gentleman goes forward along the corridor. A strange feeling lurks inside him. Maybe it is because the daughter is not Violet Ian, or because she looks like Serna. The man is confused. The little girl cannot grasp the technique of fencing, and the weak are of no use to anyone in the kingdom. They will be easily defeated in the struggle for the throne, and they will lose to an external enemy. It is not clear what to do next. Someone who cannot fight can hardly bear the family name. The beauty cannot be called a successor, and on top of all this, she will die at the age of. What is happening is unreasonable. It is useless to try to change anything, because fate is already predetermined. The mind remains in confusion. The Lord had long since gone to bed, but even so, he was not given peace, not allowed to relax, because after a few hours someone knocked on the door, and when he opened the door he saw the Lord in front of him. The blonde is unhappy. He thinks it is not normal to wake a person in the middle of the night just to talk. Besides, the young man worked overtime. His Majesty talks about a duel. The man refuses, but he is immediately reminded that years ago, Baitan is still unhappy. Then he was a mercenary. However, everything has changed. The brunette abruptly launches forward, the sword that he always carries with him. The man screams, "You can't attack so abruptly." The emperor remains unmoved. "It seems you lied about your previous job." Time flies. The girl turned 3. 2 years out of 21 flew by in vain. Her past life was short, but rich in experience. The remaining time in the new life should be used wisely. Her Highness was helped to pack. A maid came in to inform her that the Empress had arrived to pick up the baby. She smiled before following. The Violet Ian blood is truly good. It helped the girl grow up quickly by Korean standards. Instead of 3 years old, the girl would have been about 5. Her speech is not yet perfect, but she manages to talk with adults. The blonde learned to walk and run. Sometimes she stumbled, however. This did not prevent her from remaining normal. Almost always, there were no wounds left on her body. The Empress informs them that Lord Baitan will be coming to visit them. He will be the lady's new teacher, which means they should remember good manners and not show themselves in a bad light. The little girl was surprised at first, because Moliab was her teacher before. He no longer works for the king's family, which makes you ask the logical question, why is this so? Moliab, an old teacher who taught several generations of princes, has disappeared, although according to the original, he was supposed to become a guide to the light of knowledge for the young lady. I'd like to ask why the beauty chose Baitan. When she remembers the man, the girl wants to smile. It's always fun with the Lord. He's not just a swordsman, but a wizard who knows how to use magic. While the lady was remembering how the young man used flight magic on her, he just appeared. Introducing himself, the man bowed his head. "From today on, I will be responsible for your education." The little girl hurries to the Lord and smiles. She is happy that she will now be studying with such a talented person like him. Empress asks to take care of the princess and leaves, remaining alone with the young man. The blonde decides to ask the question, "Why did you become my teacher?" The little girl is happy, however. She knows that the mayor of Moliab should have become the teacher covering covering his hand and face. The boy cries dramatically, because everything is already clear. The blonde asks why the child doesn't like it when he cries. The girl knows what to answer. She saw through the publicity stunt, because even those tears were fake. It's a bad habit. The beauty doesn't like that false words are used on purpose. If you do it again, nothing good can happen. What's happening is extremely strange. It feels like this was a test. Bai Tun deliberately used words like amazing, skillful, and got it. There is no point in arguing. The beauty already knows everything. She does not have much time left, so it is worth agreeing on what will happen next. The Lord does not believe that Her Highness understands what death is. The man realizes that the little girl didn't think of this on her own. He turns around and looks at the maid who is nearby. It is not clear who was the person who dared to speak about the seal of Nr Vidal, which was on the princess's hand. The voice lowered, and the devil's blade immediately came to mind. The little girl screams at the Lord. He shouldn't hurt the little ones. There was a misunderstanding. He assures that the strong is in front of the strong, and the weak is in front of the weak. The young man should talk to the girl, and not attack the nanny. She is not to blame for anything. The beauty is stamping her foot, because what is happening really does not suit her. Baton bows his head and asks for forgiveness. He was mistaken. He also apologizes to the maid, and she nods. Everything is really okay. She is not thinking about anything. The princess forgives her teacher, but insistently asks him never to do such a thing again. The man will be much more attentive, but this does not mean that he understands how the girl learned about the seal of Nr. There is a commotion inside. The beauty does not understand. Perhaps she should say that she heard about it from someone, or explain everything. Admit that she found herself in a real-life romance. The blonde makes a quick decision. She will lie about what she heard from the midwife. She knows how much time is left to live from birth. It's best to get it all straight from the start. The mother cried when the baby was born, and after the birth, everyone started talking about it. The girl was born completely useless. It is impossible to remember reality from the moment of birth, but the maiden sincerely hopes that the Lord will believe her words, and will not ask unnecessary questions. She is lucky. The young man notes that this must be sad. I have to assure you that there is nothing terrible about this. In fact, after appearing in the novel, the girl was very happy. Probably her father's words were familiar to her. The Lord takes the beauty's hand in his, and calmly strokes it. He does not immediately answer what he thinks, however. Now in his hands is the jelly that he saved. The emperor, as usual, is training on the field with the knights. He needs to keep in shape. He is distracted by the Lord. It is not clear whether it is possible for a child to understand the concept of death. The young man himself saw how the princess spoke about this, strangely, but she seemed to not care. Besides this, she remembered absolutely everything that happened from the very moment of her birth. His Majesty, when he visited his daughter, said that she was completely useless. She even remembered this detail. The girl said that everything was fine, but it was clear that she was offended. What was disconcerting was the way the beauty said the words. She said incredibly calmly that nothing would happen if she died, and this made the Lord's heart sink into his heels. The girl won't be able to learn the Violet Ian technique, however. This doesn't mean that she is completely useless. Ron brushes it off. He doesn't want to be interrogated. He has something to do. Attempts to make the young man listen do not end. As expected, the gentleman changes the subject, saying that they have not trained for a long time, ordering him to take up his sword and step onto the battlefield. The blonde screams that he is no longer a killer, but a teacher. He is retired, but if he stops, he will definitely get injured. He jumps to the side in order to dodge his opponent. Ron's expression shows that he regrets a lot, and rightfully so, because you can't treat your own daughter like that. After that day, the mentor came to the girl every day. Although the little girl could not study the art of fencing, she had many other things that were equally interesting to this world. Every day, the heroine became more and more intelligent. She tried and progressed. One day, she drew her father, and showed it in order to receive praise. The blonde man assures that the painting is wonderful. The green-hide man asks who painted it, pretending not to understand who the real author was. When the girl reveals her cards, the man recoils in surprise. He likes to show how amazed he is. Did you really draw this amazing picture? The little girl is smiling, and the young man continues to play to the audience. It is so beautiful, as if the spirit of Michelangelo is contained in the body. The composition, position, and angle look excellent. You have to ask again. The maid and does not understand what this means, but they reassure her that the spirit inside her is not something strange. If something strange happens, the holy knights will come to pacify it. Only scary spirits enter bodies. This is called possession. That is why there are those who protect others. They help not to get into huge problems. Her Highness is asked not to be afraid. The knights will truly come to the rescue. If an evil demon takes over someone's body, they will immediately get rid of it. The little girl nods in response. She is a little cold, all because of fear. The gentleman promises that he will introduce her to his friends who are in the ranks of the defenders, although they have been very busy lately. Don't want to be a burden. A 3-turden, a 3-sold really thinks you'll be a nuisance. The teacher smiles. I'm talking about someone who has a high position. It won't be difficult for him to find time. The beauty asks not to bring anyone, but already looking more frightened. The head of the holy knights who kills holy spirits. She does not even want to introduce him. Drawing has been Isabella's passion for many years now. She dreamed of becoming an artist since childhood. There were few entertainments in the hospital ward, and drawing was one of them. The girl was mistaken when she spoke about how she began to create in childhood, because in the new world she is only years old. Inside she is in panic. It is not clear how to divert suspicion from herself. The princess was wondering what she should do while the young man looked at her silently. Suddenly he declared that he understood understood everything. Perhaps she was lucky, and there would be no further questions. The green man smiles. Even a small child has a childhood. Even such little ones have their own years of childhood. Isabella thinks that she has grown up enough. Baitan clutches his chest. His heart takes from the cuteness. He lies down on the sofa, and they rush to him to ask what is happening to him. It is not clear what to do if Filat Ian is so nice. He imagines what will happen next if she has friends. This will certainly change the situation. The blonde waves her hands in front of her face, suggesting they play something. One of the suggestions is playing ball. He has his own thoughts in his head, but it's best to change the subject. In the evening, the young man went to the office, where he presented the state duty for a painting depicting His Majesty. With a look of surprise on his face, why do I need this trash? The brunette has no compunction about what he says. It looks like a boring picture painted for a few silver coins, by someone who thinks he's a great artist. Baitan shrugs. There is something unusual in the drawing depicted on paper. The profile is clearer than in life. The lips are soft. The nose seems sharper, which adds even more charm. The Lord can sing odes forever. The texture of the skin is simply incredible. It oozes beauty. Ron listens to this with a gray expression on his face. He was recently told that this is an abstraction. To silence the young man, the brunette launched a dart, almost hitting his clothes. He can no longer stand listening to the nonsense, so he forces him to pack up and get away. It's time to show the cards. Isabella drew the picture. Her observation is striking, but a skillful presentation can be seen from afar. Not everyone is given this. Although the little girl doesn't see her father often, she depicted all the facial features with amazing detail. This observation can't be caused by anything other than sincere affection. Ron needs to see that he is truly loved. His daughter will experience the clearest feelings for him. The man knows that this can make the young man very happy. The brunette pretends not to understand what is being discussed, although it is clear that the girl loves the emperor very much, and it is important for her to understand that she is loved in return. At their last meeting, the little girl showed that she wants to be not just a burden, but someone who gets attention. Ron smirks. Are you jealous or something? The assistant throws up his hands in displeasure. He doesn't understand how there can be talk of jealousy. The answer isn't obvious. It's completely unfair how they're treating him. The young man always asks the chef to make jelly for the princess, and always helps her, but she does not reciprocate. She always leaves after classes, not wanting to talk, and always does not show even a drop of affection. Ron orders him to say what the young man really wanted to say. He is sure that he didn't come just like that. He needs to start a conversation about something more important. It is unclear whether His Majesty will believe what the man wants to convey. However, it seems that Isabella has an incredible talent for magical engineering, and she has a proposal. The princess sits in the room. Surprised, the problem seems to have come out of nowhere. A new teacher is introduced to the girl, who will be responsible for detailed training. The brunette introduces herself as a first lass, Lage from the Mirotel Magical Association. Her name is Karen, and she is happy to meet the princess. The girl does not understand why the main villain of the novel appeared so suddenly. She was not supposed to appear so soon. The plot took a different turn again. That day, the gentleman was offered to do something similar, to allow his daughter to receive a professional magical education, to find her a worthy teacher. The best solution would be to bring a magician. The brunette raises an eyebrow in displeasure. Perhaps the young man is not aware, however, magic is prohibited in the palace, considering that the heroine may not even have any powers. The green-hide man is skeptical, but he has reasons to be confident, as is well known. In magical engineering, talents are divided into 3 categories. Isabella has an excellent understanding of magic and sense of mana. This has already been proved and during baptism and mana resonance. There is potential. It is significant. She is able to create drawings in magic circles. She is dexterous and observant, and this can be seen through the drawing. Mathematical talent is also taken into account at just 3 years old. She understands the concept of numbers, and can count in her head. She accurately counts the amount of jelly that Baitan constantly brings her. His Majesty must be impressed. Given these aspects, there is confidence that the princess has natural magical talent. The man listens to everything that is said to him and calmly turns his gaze to the master. A smile of hope freezes on his face. Will you allow me to find a magic teacher? 3 months later, the villain became the new teacher, sitting in the same room with her. The little girl does not understand what to do next. What is happening does not bring any pleasure. The brunette asks if the lady is okay. She nods, albeit with a delay. Karen is a first-class mage from the Mirotel Magical Association. In the original, she was a terrifying person with huge ambitions. The woman is strong and smart. Using her powers, she was capable of everything to achieve her goals. She calmly asks to say if any inconvenience arises. Roman told how the beauty had betrayed her teacher, and having displaced him, had become the mistress of the magicians, which was the highest position in the existing association. In addition to taking over the Mirotel Association, the woman dreamed of creating a huge empire that would rule the entire continent. During the course of the story, she met the main character Aaron, who would later become the emperor. The character she met is truly such that he cannot be defeated. No matter how strong the maiden is, he cannot be defeated with black magic, that's for sure. Aaron won several times, and Care in shamefully placed Yenner Vidal Vidal's curse on the main character, and in the end, left a will and closed her eyes. Forever. The girl had no idea what happened next. While everyone was shocked by the heroine's death, something more important happened. The situation noticeably worsened. It turned out that the beauty was a dragon. No one suspected that her abilities would manifest unexpectedly. This would help her get out. In the world of the novel, dragons are masters of magic. They are known as the creators of all things magical, and they are the only creatures capable of removing the mark of Enneridal. A normal magic curse couldn't work. After the heroine sealed her memories, she understood that she was a dragon. She continued to live, impressing Eren with magic. There is no one stronger than the main character. Even the most powerful characters cannot interfere with his fate. There are 18 years left until the beginning of the story. The princess doesn't understand how the villain appeared. When she is only years old, Karen asks the little girl why she turned pale. Even in a child's body, she can't hide anything. The original text stated that the woman was good at reading people and exploiting their weaknesses, and Karen noticed that the main character was different from other people almost as soon as she saw her. The character also faced problems, but Isabella got problems too early. Just the thought of it makes her stomach hurt. She becomes scared, because if she reveals the secret, something irreparable will happen. The child is behaving unnaturally. Logical behavior would arouse suspicion. You cannot pretend to be an adult. Otherwise, the state will be reflected on the face. The beauty has only one way out. She screams that she wants to be nearby Tun. He trained her, and therefore he is obliged to return and continue working. Karen asks if the princess is really against her taking over her training. The blonde repeats the same thing. I want the Lord to teach me. I like him better. There remains an option that the girl has been reluctant to use, until the very end. She falls to the floor and throws a tantrum. She urgently needs Baton. Otherwise there is no point in training. The baby is showing what she has been suppressing all this time. It's time to make it memorable forever. She will set the rhythm and listen to the drumbeat. The brunette stands to the side. She is not trying to do anything. The girl is probably worried. It is clear from her that further actions will be completely unpredictable. It becomes creepy. Just one look of dark eyes makes you afraid. In the original, the only one who could defeat the villain was Eren, the protagonist. He had enough strength to awaken. A man must be tortured. The original tells the story of the awakening of a boy who was bullied by a villain. The story revolves around how he builds up his strength, doing it gradually. Would like to hope that if everything is done correctly, maybe then the young man will not harbor a grudge against the Empire and will not attack Violet Ian. Everything will be different, because the reason why Karen opposes the hero is because he will later become the Emperor of Violet Ian. Under different circumstances, Karen and Eren won't have to fight. The little girl will do everything to ensure that the situation ends favorably. Someone from the Violet Ian family will have to fight the villain. The girl's goal is to control the world, and no matter who becomes emperor, a clash will occur at some point. It might be safer to lure the heroine to your side. In the original story, the two strongest were the princess's father and Eren, but after the death of her mother, Ron became weak. A wise ruler would not watch a lady go astray. It is not clear whether it is worth pretending that nothing happened, although in any case, there are still 20 years before the atrocities begin. After this time, the baby will be dead. She is given only years, however. She is grateful for everything, because she will be able to live this life with dignity and happiness. Not like in the past. Not much, but the girl wants to leave a mark. Karen is torn away from her thoughts. She is unhappy. If you continue in the same spirit, studying will be difficult. Magic is not a simple science. It requires close communication between teacher and student. Without it, it will be difficult to move forward even for a princess. Such a conversation is too unexpected. Lord Baitun will be angry if the mistress is rude to the one who should teach her. Smiling, the blonde says, "You are beautiful, I like you." Since life is a gift, a woman uses it to protect her family. It's funny, but as soon as thoughts about protecting her family appear in her head, controlling her emotions becomes a little easier. She promises that she will try her best and learn. The next day, it was time for classes again. The little girl got up early in the morning and got ready. The teacher came to her room. Karen, as expected, knocks on the door before entering and asks Her Highness if she is busy, and then almost immediately enters. The blonde abruptly closes the door. There is a loud bang. It's good that there is no one around. The little girl has jelly in her hands. She saved one for the teacher. It is peach-flavored. Sweet expression freezes on the face. The secret weapon is activated. They say to gain favor, you need to give gifts. Even incredibly small ones matter. The lesson has started, so the girl refuses to take the gift. She is going to take it as soon as they are free. The little girl nods. Over the past few years, the child has made a decision. It is impossible to win Karen's heart right away, but it is possible to weaken her grip and vigilance. This will not be difficult for her. Luckily, the princess is an incredibly sweet child, and she will try her best in class to fully satisfy her desire. During the lesson, the young lady can't stop asking questions. She asks about the name, and then asks when the study of magic began, asks about food. She knows what she's working for, because the next way of bribery is showing interest. The brunette, oddly enough, answers that she is years old. As a child, she heard that the name came from the name of a flower. She began to study magic at about after meeting a teacher. Karen doesn't have any particular food preferences, but she doesn't like fatty foods, and her aura is very bright, as if she's not a villain at all. After a few days, it was finally time to move on to the point about Nair Vidal's mark. The little girl was asked if she knew about Eneir Vidal's mark, and she quietly answered, yes. It is known that a little later, Karen uses a curse to put the heroine in mortal danger, although this was not described in detail, but it was said that there was a lot of research. The beauty doesn't suspect that perhaps the reason the young lady contacted the princess was to study the mark in more detail. The blonde calmly replies that the mark will kill her when she becomes an adult. This shows how aware she is of death. She wants to give happiness to others while she has the opportunity. Of course, it's scary to think about the future, but for Isabella, life is a gift. She has no right to complain about what she received. God made her happy. Meeting the teacher is also a gift. A smile on her face while the beauty tells her that she is no longer afraid of anything, she is fine. There are still some unpleasant feelings inside. If they had met about years later, it would have been much more difficult. The girl is glad that they met while she was still little. I would like to ask if people will be sad when she dies. She doesn't like sad thoughts. No one should be sad about a child who will leave this world very soon. Silence falls in the garden. During the conversation, the girl did not look at Karen, so she did not know what she was experiencing. When she looks up, she is horrified, tears flowing down her cheeks like a river. The pupils dilate in surprise. The lady never expected such a reaction from the one who would in the future want to destroy the world. Getting up from the bench and turning away, the brunette asks not to worry. The original may change, but if you believe what was written, something like this shouldn't have happened. The realization comes to mind. Yes, she's pretending. Karen had always been good at pretending, and it wasn't hard for her to pull the wool over people's eyes, especially when the situation called for it. The lady tries to pretend that it doesn't mean anything. However, everything is predetermined. The tears that smell of falsehood serve as clear evidence. She is playing her role. The princess can't help but be glad that she knows the plot. If she hadn't read the novel, she would have been in big trouble, so she decides to try to calm the teacher down. The brunette turns around abruptly, wiping away her tears, and asking Her Highness not to treat death so calmly, as this is completely the wrong approach to the matter. Spending a difficult and scary time next to the princess is what the teacher wants. She sees that she is a good girl and deserves the best. The little girl reaches out to the teacher and immediately hugs her. She is honestly very happy that she can be nearby. The woman smiles and promises that she will truly be there. The blonde felt uncomfortable and embarrassed, so she quickly hugged her, but fortunately, she managed to hide the facial expression that showed her true emotions. The beauty took revenge on Wilhelm and took the highest position in the Miro Association. Although she achieved her goal, not everything went smoothly for her. There were still many followers of the one she had killed among the mages. Karen was considered a traitor, and this weakened the government. She found a way out and started a war. Her existence was filled with meaning, only thanks to what was happening. For now, the young lady has not yet given into the darkness. She shows Her Majesty the book, and after reading asks if everything is clear. The answer is a calm nod. It's time to move on to the next step, to act seriously. Her Majesty is very smart, and her living conditions are different from those of the children in the Miro Association. The best way to learn is to start from the very basics. This may seem unusual. Magic is not as bad as it seems. It has many possibilities. About months pass. All this time, the beauty continued to intensively study magic. The teacher did not allow her to refuse or think that this was not an interesting activity. During one of the lessons, Karen showed another trick. She showed mana in her hand. A beautiful light illuminated the room when she asked the little girl to feel it. Basically, magic flows in a continuous stream. It asks to imagine a strong, fast stream, because this can show progress. A lot has happened in months. At first, Isabella was wondering why she was studying magic. It didn't seem like there had ever been a princess in the empire who dealt with it. The little girl decided that there was nothing wrong with learning a new art, but on the contrary, it would be good practice. The girl tries again, and finally gets him on a barrier. The barrier, as it should be, feels very solid. The lady learned the basics of magic, and did something similar in just 6 months. She really succeeded, and without any effort. Karen looks closer, and begins to realize that the barrier's color is much more surprising. It doesn't just glow with a soft yellowish light, but also reflects 5 different colors. The teacher saw something like this for the first time. She couldn't help but be surprised. Her eyes widen as she continued to try to believe in reality. The woman asks to imagine that the stone is rising into the air. A second later, even more unexpectedly, the barrier rose up. The brunette knows that this can only be achieved in a year, not in a minute. She asks Her Highness, "Can you move the stone?" The blonde tried. Nothing worked. She almost immediately realized that in fact, she accidentally got confused while talking. Despite the failure, it's still fun. The little girl smiles and asks to try again, or suggests that they do something else. For some reason, instead of answering, the beauty, clenching her fist, refuses. The table almost broke. The teacher used absorption magic. If she hadn't done it, something terrible would have happened. Although the child cannot control the power, her mana level is incredibly high. Karen doesn't know what the future will be, but if she's right, the princess is destined to become a magician. It won't be difficult for her to master all the basics of the art. A girl is told that she has done a good job again. She thinks that this is praise, and when she hears that it is not true, she asks that next time she be praised. Isabella continued to study with Karen. Time passed, and by the time she was years old, over time the beauty became more strict and severe. She no longer tried to be soft. The little girl asks the teacher if magicians can fly. She calmly answers that it is true. However, they are not very fond of it, because in reality, you can fall and die. The lesson ends. Karen promised that from the next day they will begin official lessons. The girl exhales. She is afraid when the teacher talks about death. The lady goes to her room, closing the door. She is glad that there is silence. Darkness reigns around, because she draws the curtains on the windows. Falling onto the bed, the maiden smiles. The princess is really a cutie. beating the pillow. She does not understand how a lady can be so sweet and charming. After a while, composure is restored. Bai Tun is crazy, so it is imperative to think clearly. He will turn a blind eye to all the crimes of his mistress. The girl understands that she needs to become stricter. Why does a strange memory come to mind when she was still little? She was asked to date, but she refused. Then they pushed her, shouting that she had no right to refuse. The heroine had a difficult childhood. Her parents abandoned her in an orphanage, and because of her shyness, it was difficult to adapt there. After the beauty rejected Mikhail's confession, he and his friends began to bully the girl. No one could resist them. They were bigger and stronger. The teachers didn't support Care, then either. They all believed there was a reason for the bullying, and everyone promised that if she behaved well, the problems would end. Nobody liked the noise. They had to silently endure the expulsion and bullying, and for some reason, the lady simply didn't care. One day, a magician who recognized magical talent came to the orphanage. He decided to take the child, and on that day, for the first time in her life, she felt hope. Inside, there was a joy that she would finally be able to find her own home. Only then it became clear that the girl was completely unwell. Later, the man introduced himself as Wilhelm. He was not just a magician, but the one who was the head of the magical association Mirotel, the hero, and did not think that she had come across such an influential person. The young man asked to be called father, and at that moment, tears welled up in his eyes, and a vague hope came over him that perhaps the beauty would finally be happy. The joy did not last long. The problems with Wilhelm did not end. Everyone considered him an angel, but in fact he was a real madman, a two-minus-faced man. He was a disgusting monster in human form. The girl considered herself a living doll, and almost every time, she told herself that she needed to be patient. Most importantly, follow orders. People can't be dolls. At some point a desire for revenge began to arise in the heart. Rage did not appear, just a desire to quickly take revenge. The woman practiced magic diligently, even when no one saw her, and when she turned 20, she managed to achieve success and become a first-class magician. 2 years later, it turned out that the princess was looking for a teacher of magical arts. Then, the lady was only interested in the mark. She needed to grow in strength, but only beyond the vision of Wilhelm. With divine power, one can easily take revenge. That's exactly what the heroine thought. She understood that the child would help in her research, but when the meeting took place, the thoughts in her head changed significantly. For the first time, someone asked not about magic, but about Karen. The little girl asked a lot of questions, and then began to calmly share something valuable. It was truly charming. Isabella understood what death was, so she considered her life a gift. Among her gifts was a teacher. She liked to be around and learn new basics. The brunette constantly felt lost. She didn't remember being so special to anyone, but after meeting Violet Ian, the world sparkled with new colors, bright colors. The teacher wanted to say that people naturally want to live, so one shouldn't be so calm, but at that moment, the child reminded her of Karen herself, only in childhood. The princess was carrying a heavy burden. The lady realized that she really wanted to help. She understood that she needed to help the girl bear this burden, because it would be difficult for her alone. The woman went to an audience with His Majesty. Sitting opposite the man, she explains that intensive magical training will soon begin, as her protege has potential. Chuckling, the young man comes to the conclusion that all this is because the blood of Violet Ian flows inside. To some extent he was right, however. This story is not new at all. Karen had time to think about this. From the outside, it seems to everyone that the emperor doesn't care about his daughter, and this is understandable, since the little girl cannot learn the family fencing technique, like all her brothers. At first, the girl thought that the gentleman was truly neutral, but then the realization came to her that he was proud of Isabella, even though he didn't show it. Training may require money. The answer is simple. The girl is redirected directly to Bai Tun for such trivial matters. It is always better to consult with him. The maiden asks if the price doesn't matter. The man doesn't remember saying that. Even if it did, the young man understands that the lord is crazy about the princess. What's happening is strange. Perhaps he and the emperor are similar. Understanding is established between people of the same class. It has always been this way. The woman sees the differences, however. She understands perfectly well that Ron is the same as she. The man still hasn't realized that they are similar, so he doesn't pay attention to it. Perhaps he is still in the initial stages. You have to ask him a controversial question. Calmly looking straight into his eyes, the lady asks, "Isn't it interesting to know what the princess's potential is? What she can achieve in the future?" He should be interested in whether the lady has talent. In magic, talent is far more important than anything else. Without it, many levels remain inaccessible. This is usually the very first thing people ask about, and then they look at the following points. Violet Ian's mood suddenly changes. He asks if the girl has forgotten where she is. A fire burns in his eyes, which makes her feel a little uneasy. Lowering her head, the heroine asks for forgiveness. She forgot herself for a moment. They are in the Empire of Swordsmen, where the smallest achievements in fencing are considered more important than successes in magic. Getting up from her seat, the woman thanks him for his time, and is about to leave before she can open the door. The gentleman stops her. This is a child? Is she happy? In fact, the beauty feels good. She smiles widely, especially when she imagines flying with the help of magic. She likes to learn. When a parent asks about something like this for the first time, people usually want to know if the child has talent, if the child will survive, if he he or she will become an outstanding wizard. No one ever asks if the baby is happy. It seems that the rumors that His Majesty hates the princess are not true. He actually treats her with care. The man's attitude has been the subject of gossip for several years now. The teacher asks if the young man plans to change anything for him. It's ridiculous to make an effort to fix something that's nonsense. It becomes clear that the hero is confident in his abilities. He is strong in spirit, and therefore will never pay attention to what others are gossiping about. The conversation dragged on. The teacher was getting ready to leave. It really was time for her to leave the hall. His Majesty was left alone. The knights thought that what was happening was unexpected. Several days have passed, and in the imperial capital, Seoul, celebrations begin. Envoys from different factions have gathered to celebrate the emperor's birthday. Countless people gathered in the main palace. Many of them had not seen each other for a long time, so they were pleasantly surprised to meet again. Many people noticed that the sun is shining inexplicably brightly. This shows that the heavens themselves are blessing Ron. In the new year, the famous genius pianist Lunt will congratulate His Majesty personally. The Empress tries to cheer up her husband. No matter how much they talk, they must not show irritation under any circumstances. After all, they are at an important diplomatic event. The brunette understood that the banquet would last a week, but this did not bring him any happiness. He would have preferred to wave a sword on his training ground than to be in the hall among snobs. The aristocrats, as usual, gathered behind and gasped at every movement of the gentleman. His Majesty's face was shining, and some wanted to get his portrait. It's time to begin the event, and the man in charge of the hall says that before the gift-giving ceremony, there will be a congratulatory performance by pianist Lunte. The princess, of course, is not in the hall. She is in the forest, and finally, she is discovered by a servant, who notices that the girl's dress is dirty. What are you doing here? The little girl shows a flower. It is incredibly beautiful. She stole it from the tree, and can even make it shine. A second later, she uses magic to show a trick. The nanny smiles. The girl's abilities are amazing. The flower shines like a precious stone, and of course the princess is going to give it away, not keep it for herself. The blonde reaches out and hugs the woman. After her rebirth, as soon as she learned to crawl and then walk, she ran everywhere every day, especially in the forest. He was wildly attracted. Almost always, the baby was happy. No matter how tired she was, the suppressed heartbeat no longer caused pain. The absence of problems made her happy. Life felt full. The girl was distracted, and didn't notice that the nanny had disappeared somewhere. The stranger's voice was heard behind her. I wouldn't have thought that I would find such a treasure in the thicket. A tall man appears before the heroine, wearing a mask on his face and a cloak on his body. He calmly says that he is the one trying to figure out whether the princess is adopted, and it seems that she is. The blonde immediately answers that she has a father. And who is he? The emperor, of course. The stranger freezes in surprise, and then begins to laugh, noticing that the child is shameless. If the little girl were a princess, it would be even sadder. It seems they don't love her, since they didn't a single guard to her, leaving her completely alone in the forest. They should have understood that this wouldn't protect her. The man extends his gloved hand, inviting the noble girl to follow him because of the mask. It is difficult to understand what expression he has on his face. Pretending that she doesn't understand anything, the heroine asks if Mr. is a kidnapper. If he wants to steal her, he promises that he will make her the greatest magician. There's no need to be afraid. The girl thought the man was smart. Contempt oozed through her voice. He asked if she knew who was in front of her. If she thought a little, she could probably find the right answer. If a man moves calmly around the palace, it means he is an invited guest. He is an outstanding magician, since he made Aryuka disappear with one wave of his hand. He is looking for children with extraordinary talent. The daredevil doesn't care about the child's origin, and this is proven by another fact. The conclusion is that this is Wilhelm, Karen's adoptive father, and an outstanding magician of the Mirotel Magical Association. The man freezes, and then, as if trying to justify himself, he heard the name of a famous person. He is flattered that the little girl confused him with such a great hero. For the princess, these are trifles. She is only convinced that the gentleman is stupid. He does not understand what is being discussed, and then she hears the voice of Baton, who is already drawing his sword behind his back. The blonde immediately pierces the body with a blade. He asks why the man came completely alone. This is enough to scare him, and not only. Moment later, the man takes the nanny right out of the stranger's clothes. The little girl asks if she is okay, but the girl cannot even put two words together, because she did not expect this. The young man is not surprised that Wilhelm does not resist, because in front of them is not a real body, but only a stupid magical projection. Nothing more. They tried to kidnap a friend. The evidence will remain. Baitun is revealed for what he really is. He is good and leaves no trace when he searches for evidence and takes revenge. Would like to say that they will find the real body and resolve everything. However, this cannot be done, because it could disrupt the psyche of the young lady. A good conversation is ahead. Aryuka tells Her Highness that her body is fine. The baby is not injured either. The lord comes up to ask if she is scared. The lady exudes a strange calm. The girl sees no point in being afraid. The teacher was next to her. He arrived not too late, because in fact, everything is fine. She believes in her savior. He will always protect her. The man, feeling deeply touched, suddenly hugs the princess, asking how she can be so witty. The maid, and does not remember that in the original, the lord could be so easily moved. The only thing the girl wants to know is the reason for expressing yourself beautifully, while you furiously swing your sword. The blonde smiles nervously. I'm just very gentle and kind. Baitun, as usual, brings tears of sadness when he is caught off guard. The princess does not want this. She hugs. Actually, it was cool. You are the best. The girl asks if Wilhelm was that madman. The man freezes. He dared to make an attempt on the royal person, and what's more, he was right on the palace grounds. It would be be best to find out for sure who attempted to make the princess afraid. The blonde man promises that he will find the stranger, because he loves to make friends. It's time to go back to the patrol, but for safety the knights will be called. The little girl decides to play a little more. It will be fun. Being a child is truly wonderful when you play. You can easily forget all your problems and grievances, leaving only pleasant feelings in a sea of joy. Her Highness not only plays, but also does not waste time. She made a flower ring for her father. He is at a banquet, so the maid does not quite understand how the little girl will give the gift, but she only smiles conspiratorially. Aryu carries the child down the corridor. The banquet hall is already close, but the knights at the entrance abruptly declare that they cannot pass. It seems that they did not remember Isabella. She decides to correct this, and says her name. Get out of the way. The guards' puzzled expressions make you want to laugh, as if they were surprised by the charismatic display, and you have to tell them it's a joke just to calm them down. They say that Miss should not pretend to be a princess, otherwise she could receive a severe punishment. It is not clear why the do not see the girl as a royal person. Isabella, not exactly popular, so she'll have to work hard to get into the hall anyway, asks to get down on the floor, and then orders names and titles to be called. One of the knights understands that there is a child in front of them, but asks not to behave like that. Aryuka is advised to take the young lady back, so that she does not interfere. It seems to be a Violet-Ian tradition to ignore the princess when she speaks. She asked for names and titles, of course receiving no answer. The guards in charge of the banquet hall, and its security cannot recognize the face of the royal person. This is starting to irritate. If a problem arises, it is better to report everything to the captain to sort it out. The little girl is young, but she understands that since many eyes are watching her, every step can affect her reputation, so she is obliged to speak clearly and decisively, no matter what happens. Alhelm is the first to come out to present the gift. He presents what was created by Muriel, the founding mage of the Miro-Tel Magical Association. He personally filled the gift with mana. The Empress sees that there is silence after the performance, so, laughing nervously, she asks His Majesty to thank the man for the gift he has presented. The hero is truly considered a rising star in the Magical Association. Miro-Tel and the Violet-Ian's Ord Empire, two absolute powers that want to divide the continent into two different but equal parts. The man is distracted by a familiar voice, noise outside the door. The little girl asks to know names and ranks, and the king silently notes that she is doing everything correctly, meeting the requirements. The knights in charge of the banquet hall do not recognize the imperial person. The beauty is extremely dissatisfied. She logically criticizes the error, continuing to follow protocol. The Empress doesn't understand why her husband is so absent-minded, so she decides to take matters into her own hands, explaining how deeply they value the gift from the Miro-Tel Magical Association. While the girl promises that in the future, she will definitely go to the monastery and express her gratitude to the one who made the ball, the master rises and orders that the princess be admitted. The guards realize they made a mistake. It is really Isabella in front of them. They ask forgiveness for not being able to recognize her, and offer to lead her to the throne. The little girl smiles radiantly. She doesn't hold a grudge, because it's a wonderful day outside. She promises that she will talk to her father so that everything will be okay. One of the knights promises to return and apologize properly. The girl nods, asking to bring her jelly or ice cream. She simultaneously exudes irresistible elegance and sweetness. Child walks forward along the main path in the hall. She has a gift for her father. Whispers are heard around. No one understands why her face is so dirty. The Empress is graceful and elegant, and Isabella, in turn, looks like an orphan, so the rumors were not lying. Not paying attention, the girl stretches her arms forward. When the young man asks what she has brought, a calm answer is heard. There is a ring in her palm. It is also shining. The girl asks if she can come closer, but the emperor decides to approach himself. The beauty made the ring herself, but of course she got dirty in the process. The gentleman strokes her hair, and one cannot help but notice how warm his hands are. What's happening is a little awkward. Despite this, there's not much time left on Earth. The girl wants to directly express her sincere feelings. The emperor allows the ring to be placed on his finger. He really likes the gift, and very soon after this, the banquet comes to an end. In the evening, lying in bed, the woman notices that her husband's actions raised questions. At first he sat with a stern face, but when his daughter came, he immediately smiled. The brunette snorts, in his opinion. This did not happen, but Serna claims the opposite. The man called the flower ring the best gift, which disrupts the flow of mana. Greenyand reminds them that since they were unable to attend diplomatic meetings because of their birthday, they will have a lot of work to do. The gentleman nods, kissing his wife's hand gently, and smiling slightly in response, as if he won't be able to see the princess for 3 or even for months. A few days later, Isabella's father arrived. She was busy with something, but as soon as she saw the door opening, she immediately ran to meet him. The little girl screams that they haven't seen each other for a long time, to which he responds that they saw each other yesterday, but this doesn't change the situation, because the man almost never visits the lady, trying to distance himself from her. The reason for the visit was also found for some time. As sad as it was, the young man and Serna would not be able to visit their daughter. They would have to leave to do some work. They won't be back soon, but by the time the child is born, counting on her fingers, she realizes that the trip will take about 8 months, and the girl has become a little sad. After all, there is no choice. She only hopes that time will pass quickly enough, because she will really miss him. She will wait for her father to return like never before. A slight blush appears on his face. The young man extends his arms forward, but stops in time and takes them back. The little girl does not understand whether they wanted to hug her. Father strokes Isabella's head, and then turns around and promises that he will try to come back as soon as possible, especially for her. In the corridor, His Majesty catches up with Baton. He immediately immediately asks what the princess said. She wants the emperor to return soon. She misses him and will wait. The sir envies the master because they didn't say goodbye to him like that. The girl seemed indifferent. The brunette shrugs his shoulders. He never saw a rival in his assistant, but this hurts his pride even more. The blonde didn't worry, even when he lost the fight. He shouldn't be upset, he shouts. Calm arrogance is obviously also a talent. Bai Tun feels depressed. He can't be alone with his feelings, so he thinks he needs to take it out on someone else. He recalls the incident in the forest. The man who tried to kidnap the princess could be Wilhelm. As soon as evidence is found, the next step will be reprisal. Time passed. Months flew by completely unnoticed, and finally, Isabella's birthday arrived, and from the very morning, Yuka came to congratulate her. The little girl was happy that her holiday had arrived, because after all, she couldn't wait to receive her gifts. 5 years had passed out of 20 Manhwa. Thanks to the blood of the violet Eons, she grew quickly. By the earthly standards of the past world, she looked as if the child was not but a whole years old. Time was not wasted. Every day the girl improved, because she wanted to get the best. She can express her thoughts in words, and has much better control over her body, except for the fact that the days allotted to her on Earth are becoming fewer and fewer. The princess was satisfied with everything. She asks about her father and mother, but there was no news from them. It's a pity. It seems she was consumed by business. The nanny is determined. She feels sorry for her mistress, so she promises to celebrate for both of them. She suggests celebrating the birthday together to lift the spirits. There are only minutes left until the end of the birthday. The clock has struck p.m. It's time to light and blow out the candles. The cake really looks delicious. The bright, juicy berries on top are just begging to be devoured. The little girl sits down in front of the table and is asked what wish she will make. The princess wishes that next year she will spend her day with her mom and dad. The candles need to be blown out before the end of the birthday party. The blonde doesn't understand what the problem is. There are still about 30 seconds left until the end. Familiar voice is heard. Isabella doesn't even know how to fight, but she wants it so much. The door opens. The emperor appears on the threshold. His clothes are completely covered in stains. The child exclaims in surprise when she realizes that there is blood on the body. Again she says something that she does not think, because the thoughts in her head are completely different. The green-hide girl approaches her husband. She reproaches him, because she asked him to change clothes and not scare the baby. Ron snorts. If this is capable of scaring her, she is not worthy of bearing our last name. The empress tries to force her husband to tell the truth, because he didn't change his clothes, because he was afraid of being late for the birthday party, which had already ended, and he had to keep his promise. If you behave inappropriately, the daughter may hate her father. Serna comes up and bends down to hug her daughter. She wishes her a happy birthday. It's a pity that she had to be late. The girl can't hold back. She starts sobbing uncontrollably. She thanks her mother for finding the time to get free earlier and be with her. The beauty smiles through her tears. She incredibly likes it when her mother hugs her. It awakens the most pleasant feelings. Her soul feels warm and cozy. In her past life, the girl could never feel the warmth of her parents. She didn't have any, and she could only hope for the future. Soon the princess falls asleep in the arms of the empress. In the morning, the little girl opens her eyes. The first thing she sees is her father sitting next to her and reading a book. What are you thinking about when you call me so familiarly? Formality is not always necessary. The little girl asks if she can call him daddy, even though she is already years old. Dignity and grace are important to Violet Ian. The baby is growing up fast, but even so, she will remain a child. When she saw her parents at her birthday party, she cried a lot, which proved this once again. Smile appears on her face again. The girl is happy because her father is next to her. She asks if he was in the room all night. I was so tired that I didn't notice how I fell asleep. The little girl is stroked on the head. She smiles again almost immediately and decides to ask if the emperor is tired. Obviously, after his work, it was not easy for him. Ron is the strongest warrior in the empire. The book said that his mana is like the universe. He once fought for 2 whole weeks without rest because he had no choice. The girl hopes that in this case, the young man will get tired every day, staying close to his daughter, and then they will be able to constantly spend time together. The man smirks. The child has bad thoughts. Wishing his father chronic fatigue is a little beyond the bounds of normal behavior in love. The beauty lowers her head. At the moment she becomes a little sad. She asks to get tired at least once a year, on her birthday. There are only times left, and then it's the end. For a second it seems like the man is angry. Maybe the little girl has been whining too much. She quietly asks, times? Is that too much? The man gets up from his seat. He should ask Karen to go over all the topics of mathematics again. They talk about an infinitesimal number. It does not seem large. Kneeling down in front of the girl, he asks if she has learned anything at all. Looking at her, he is already getting tired. It is becoming difficult to speak, and hugging her, he also gets tired. In fact, the most interesting thing is how to prolong a lady's life. This is where fatigue manifests itself the most. The young man is tired of wondering why this seemingly worthless time is so valuable. It's never too late to learn something new. The brunette hugs the beauty tighter. From this moment on he will be 1,000 times more tired. Tears well up in her eyes. Waving calmed down a bit. The girl notices that she made a mistake in her past life. She entered a Korean university. After passing the math exam she is smart. She just needs to think. Mother left early in the morning for a financial meeting with the Duke of Rothschild. I have to ask if my father needs to leave, he nods. There is not much time left. The young man should go to the palace arena. The baby is moving, so the master will accompany her, help her get settled. The blonde asks again, but is asked not to try to make her repeat the same thing, because the man doesn't like it. A smile from ear to ear on her face, a cry, how wonderful. The palace arena is a place of honor, where the children of the imperial family live. They grow up in a separate estate until they are 5 years old, and then this move is usually considered the beginning of political life. The girl is looking forward to meeting her brothers. The last time they saw each other, they were all handsome, and their grand appearance at the ceremony will be unforgettable for a long time. For now, only the youngest prince, Mikhail, lives in the castle. The other princes are away, preparing to become successors. You can start getting closer to the youngest, rather than getting involved in intrigues. The father asks his daughter to take a break from her thoughts for the first time in the 15 history of the Violet Eons. The girl goes to the palace arena, accompanied by the emperor. Delza meets his majesty. She greets him after they have not seen each other for a very long time. She is the main manager of the palace, responsible for all affairs. Isabella greets him, doing it as she is supposed to. She bows her head and says how old she is. The woman quickly explains that there is no need to bow because they are of different ranks. The little girl thinks it's strange. She wouldn't call Miss Delza just a manager, because it has much more meaning. It was she who saved the emperor on the Hill of Pain years ago. Opening her eyes in surprise, the beauty asks if the girl knows about that incident. Of course, she knows all the little details. Ron was in critical condition. The heroine rushed to his side to provide protection, killing 37 enemies, for which she received a silver medal of the Silver Star. The princess heard an interesting detail. Delza refused the award ceremony. She simply treats it with respect. This is the minimum that the lady deserves. Previously, Miss was an outstanding swordswoman who commanded one of the strongest squads, or rather the Black Whale. After saving Ron, she received wounds and took the place of the manager. What happened took place long ago, even before the princess was born. However, she believes that honor does not fade over time. As a royal person, she wants to honor loyalty. The arena palace is not a simple place, which means the girl will address the manager exactly as she should. They will act together, because that is the right thing to do. Delzi looks down, surprised, and understands that the rumors about the child were simply nonsense for a 5-year-old. She is unusually developed and well-mannered. Ron has to leave. He has to attend a national meeting, so he asks to take care of his daughter. The little girl says goodbye, waving her hand happily. A head of the palace doesn't understand what happened. The man personally brought the baby, and even addresses her not officially, but as his child. He should be careful not to develop weakness. Voices heard. The youngest prince jumps from the top floor, shouting that his competitor has finally appeared. He was asked many times not to jump from the top floor, but this did not bother him. Mikhail is dissatisfied. Lancer said that as long as he is good with a sword, nothing else matters. It's like a pass to any kind of mischief. Delza looks ahead with displeasure. Sir is her husband, and also one of the prince's mentors. He must be executed, and the woman herself will do it. The princess examines her brother. If you think about it, he is not at all different from her. He is also growing quickly, so at 9 he should look like a teenager. His mind seems not to keep up with his growth. The little girl notices that the boy is, as usual, quite cute. She remembers how they met at the selection ceremony. She even remembers the words that were said. The heroine has no proof of what was said. She just remembers it. Delza, watching what is happening, already knows how everything will end. Continuing, the lady must understand that the prince will be even more stubborn. The boy is unhappy. You can't be impudent, especially without evidence. The blonde knows what Shess doing. Shess not going to back down. Coming closer and pointing her finger, the lady asks again. Noticing that her brother remembers what he himself said, he jumps up and shouts, asking how she was able to find out all this. The blonde wonders if the prince is strong. She read that strong people admit that they don't remember something. Mikhail is strong and cool. Blush immediately appears on her face. The boy asks again. He needs to know if the girl really thinks so. She nods. After all, he is more sweet than cool. Beaming with joy, the young man assures that in this case, he will definitely introduce the beauty to his friend. He is rude, but also loves to communicate. During the entire conversation, Delza did not utter a word. She carefully watched the lady, gradually realizing that she seemed to know how to cast a spell. Mikhail, who always argues, quickly made concessions. Days passed. Several days had passed since the move. Life, of course, had not changed fundamentally. However, she had a new teacher. The man came to help master the Violet Ian technique. He is a fencing teacher, so he had to teach the lady the very basics. His name is Lancer. The young man explained that he actually didn't know how to teach her. He was simply asked. The princess couldn't study. They could play house. Elsa's voice is heard. She menacingly asks if the man is in his right mind. She jumps back and Furfulsy asks what's wrong. Her voice lowers. We're at work. Address me properly. The beauty asks what time it is. Make less fencing lesson should have started by now. The brunette exclaims that he has completely lost track of time. The little girl feels the tension. The prince runs into the room. He shouts that he didn't mean to be late, but it happened that way. It's obvious that they both forgot about the lesson. It's interesting to hear what happened. There is a small animal sitting on the boy's shoulder. He states that it did not let him go. That is why he was late. He sees Isabella and reminds her that he had previously promised to introduce her to his friend. The blonde examines the little animal. She had seen it in documentaries, but she didn't know then that the baby would completely change her life. The honey badger has a strange aura about him, and the young man tells how the animal fought against 5 lions, 1 against 5, and defeated them all without breaking a sweat. It turns out that the kid wasn't fighting alone. The lions were determined, so the young man helped a little, and the world again makes the girl remember that she's in a fantasy novel. The green-hide man could have arrived on time, but he decided to save the animal, so he was late. He asks to take this into account. Lancer chuckled, demonstrating chivalry is worthy of praise, not reprimand. Before finishing speaking, the man glances at Delsa, and Mikhail does the same, looking as if he is in doubt. Everyone in the castle understands that the power and authority lies in the hands of the manager. The princess is preventing them from trying something new. She doesn't yet know how everything will turn out, but she is drawn to the girl. The blonde says that she declares that she wants to eat together, but the most important thing is to put on a sweet face, just so that they listen to her. She is not talkative, but resourceful. The next day, the girl went to Karen's class. The woman was acting a little suspiciously, but it was impossible to understand what exactly was wrong. The girl is strangely attentive to her charge. She must have an ulterior motive. Perhaps she is collecting mana from the breath for research, but of course she will not say so directly. The princess decides to ask a question. She is interested in whether the maiden knows information about honey badgers. These animals are funny, but they can probably be used for some purpose, to help in battles, for example. I'd like to know if an animal can have a complex distortion of magic. It's rare, but it happens. Karen nods and tries to explain in as much detail as possible. This usually happens when they eat a manas-filled magic stone. They are not picky. They can eat whatever they come across without any problems. The girl continues asking questions. She wants to know when she can use such a distortion. The teacher raises one eyebrow in surprise. This is magical intuition. Not everyone can instinctively pick up on an animal's vibrations, but those who can are usually considered true geniuses. Looking menacingly, the woman asks if the princess feels anything special. Isabella backs away, trying not to look embarrassed. Not sure, but I think I could make friends with the honey badger. The brunette chuckled, interested in what she was told, and an offer was made to work together on the side of power, developing it well enough to achieve the desired result. Karen increased the time and number of classes, so about several days passed. During one of the classes, the heroine did not know what to do. It seemed that the equation could be supplemented using de Roy-Wells' theorem. The princess always purses her lips, cutely when she concentrates. It makes you realize that she is charming. She is thinking about how to determine the root of a number. Karen asks to be more clear about what the lady wants to do. She nods and explains that this magic number is negative, but the problem is that it has to be squared. The woman nods. She is the main mage and very smart. She has high standards. Even if you show her the knowledge of a Korean student, it will not impress her. The little girl looks again at what is written on the paper in the realm of real numbers. A negative result of squaring does not exist. Quickly grabbing the pen, the heroine begins to write, applying the concept of imaginary numbers, and drawing a complex plane. The value of z is considered as the point corresponding to the sum of the numbers a and b. The teacher nods, assuring that everything is solved correctly, but not everything yet. She clarifies how to find the root of the magic equation. You just need to calculate the theta angle in the plane. The value can be found using trigonometric functions. It can be expressed using the sum of the sine, cosine and sine functions. The equation is too complex to solve by hand. Virgo wants to resort to linear algebra and matrix calculations. This concept does not exist in the real world, so Karen menacingly asks the question, "Who taught you this?" The woman doesn't think the decision was wrong. She just wants to know more and smiling. The blonde replies that she came to this conclusion a long time ago. It is obvious that the princess is a true genius. She believes that the formula should be presented at a scientific conference. They will go together to do this. The woman looks excited. If you present this in a magazine, it will be a great achievement and intellectual property. With the help of everything will turn out perfect. The beauty is embarrassed. For some reason, she thinks that they want to kidnap her, all under the pretext of a conference, so she declares that she does not need all this. The family already has a lot of money. The teacher tries to make her change her mind, but after several refusals, she starts yelling at him, saying that the lady has no ambitions, and at this rate, even she could embellish the theory and publish it under her own name. The reason why the princess does not want fame and achievement is that she is more interested in spending a few weeks with her nanny than in earning money. Her life is limited. The little girl asks if Karen is angry. Her face has a sad expression. "So I have to apologize. I didn't mean to upset you, really." The magician wishes to go to the conference alone. On behalf of Her Majesty, the formula will initially be presented on her behalf, but will then pass into the possession of the princess. The gaze falls on the mark. Since the beginning of the record keeping, not a single person has survived. This is God's punishment. People perceive Anne Vidal as a death sentence. The woman shakes the hand of her ward. She is going to save her, even at the cost of her own life, because she truly deserves a better time. Mikhail found a honey badger that was hiding from him. He bit his finger almost immediately. He looks so fiercely that it makes you a little scared. The boy promises to bite the animal in return, but the princess stops nearby just in time and remarks that because of the toughness of the skin, the teeth will feel like a brush, nothing more. The brother always thinks only of himself. The kid doesn't consider him a friend at all. He just wants to run away to freedom. The young man is nothing more than an egoist. The hero asks in surprise how the girl found out all this. The blonde combined the honey badger's mana with a magic formula and got a small spell from the magic of interpretation. She studies magic, so it was not difficult for her. Stretching out her arms, the heroine invites Honey to sit on her lap. Of course, he doesn't mind, and immediately jumps towards her, clinging to her chest. The beauty touches the animal's face with her hand. He almost immediately snorts with displeasure. Turning away, suddenly a voice is heard. I don't like you. I don't like you at all. The green hide. One jumps up in surprise and asks questions. He is interested in why they have such feelings for him. They considered him a friend. It turned out that the animal does not want to be friends. The kid sees Mikhail only as a feeding trough. He needs to receive food from someone. He is given one last chance to give the correct answer, but it seems that nothing will change, because he still doesn't care. The honey badger considers the princess his protector. She doesn't believe what is happening. The magic of interpretation is just like that. Effective. She wonders if anyone can do something similar. The animal keeps repeating something about a last name, Isabella Violet Ian, which means his name will be Honey Violet Ian. It sounds incredibly strange, and is also difficult to pronounce. The blonde tenses up. She needs something clear and easy to pronounce, like Kim Honeybee. The honey badger likes it. He smiles and nods in agreement. Later, the ward informed Care, in that she had put Hanny's thoughts in writing. She had no problem with this. In any case, it was all quite easy. The teacher is surprised that while she was gone, I managed to finish studying the theory and even put it into practice. The little girl nods. I worked hard. It's not just a matter of strength and theory. Firstly, the magician himself must have an innate ability to communicate with magical creatures, and the animal itself must be disposed towards him. The honey badger may be smart, but not that smart. The princess's special power height and the baby's senses, and humanize them for interpretation. The monomind's enhancing theory worked perfectly. The princess is more brilliant than she initially seemed. She did well, and therefore wants to be praised sooner. Karen smiles. I look forward to your new achievements. The baby cuddles closer to his owner. He is very soft and warm, which makes hugging him even more pleasant, but then they take him away, because it is time to go home. Mikhail took his friend from Isabella and said goodbye. They would see each other later. It was a pity that time was up, but they would talk later. The nanny standing nearby noticed something strange. The little animal was cruel to the prince, but very gentle with Violet Ian Jr., and he wasn't exactly friendly with our Yuka either. An idea comes to mind. Honey is very sensitive to heat. We need to learn a cooling spell, just to make his life a little easier. The animal hisses at the prince. Mikhail gets angry, because instead of gratitude, he just scratches. The blonde's entire body is covered in wounds. The hero is about to scratch his friend in response, but as soon as he rushes forward, the latter flies into the air, pushing off the floor with his hind legs, and disappears somewhere. The prince doesn't understand whether his little animal can really teleport, but, blazing with enthusiasm, he promises himself that next time he will definitely not miss it. We manage to get transported to the cave. The baby looks around. A voice is heard. A run should acquire his true form. His fur should not remain on his body any longer. In a few seconds everything changed. The brunette looks around. He finally came to his senses, although he does not understand what is happening. Woman with dark hair comes forward. She is a black dragon named Camellia. It looks like the son had a good lesson, but it's good that he came back. A run doesn't remember anything at all. They ask him what his name is. He shrugs. You said my name yourself, didn't you? The boy is just 100-year-old little dragon. He needs to keep his head in good shape so as not to forget reality. Camellia reaches out to see what was happening in the castle. Moments with the princess flash before his eyes. Smiling, the dragon nods, believing that his son has received a wonderful experience. While he does not understand, but when he grows up he will immediately begin to understand. The woman asks to talk in the room, sitting down on the sofa. The boy asks why he needs to do something that irritates him, all in order to become a good adult. If you don't follow the instructions, it's quite possible that you won't achieve what you want. The time has come for history to tell. Once upon a time, there lived a black dragon who called himself the Dragon of Absolute Destruction, Annihilation, and Secrecy. A run snorts. The name sounds crazy, like a 50-year-old kid came up with a cool nickname for himself. Camellia knows that person. It's a story of a distant relative. Dragons are born as predators, and they can easily rule the world, cast spells, and even perform miracles, all with the help of dragon words. The black dragon had absolutely everything he could wish for, but after a while he became bored and didn't know how to relieve his boredom, so he decided to show the world his power. One day, the destruction ended. The predator stopped what was happening, all because a nice man appeared, gave a ring. He promised that he would make the dragon happy. The story sounds ridiculous, however. The destroyer found the man nice and even a little funny, and as a result, he stopped being bored and, consequently, stopped killing. It was cuteness that stopped the destruction, so the conclusion is that this is a terrible force from which there is no hiding. After that incident, the predators began to understand that they were not perfect. They realized that they had power, but dangers could arise along the way. Not long ago, a law was established, according to which small dragons, like a run, must be trained. Life under the guise of other animals became mandatory. This is for understanding the thoughts of other creatures. For full immersion, the dragon's consciousness is erased, however. The experience still remains deep in the soul. If the truth is remembered, the dragon's core can break. The memories of the transformation are sealed. The boy listens to the story and asks his question. He does not know what Kim Honeybee is. A thought just came to his mind. Camellia chuckled. It's strange, because a young man shouldn't remember something like that. There might be some kind of connection between him and the girl who gave him the name. The fencing master tells the story of the dragon to the princess. She covers her ears and closes her eyes. She didn't like the story, so she becomes scared. In any case, the dragon has many names. He has done many terrible things. This is truly terrible. It makes it even more scary. The girl doesn't understand why she has such feelings inside her. She hasn't been so scared for a long time. It feels as if a monster is nearby watching. Lancer asks not to be afraid. Brave knights will punish the dragon. Even if he is still alive, he promised that he will never do evil and will help the warriors. The warrior from history was none other than the first Emperor Violet Ian. The animals secretly protected the family of the Lord and helped him in all matters. The beauty doesn't believe it. Mr. Lancer's story is interesting, however. The guardian was not mentioned in the novel. It is strange that a predator protects the imperial family. The princess directly points out that it is her father who is in charge of protection, not the dragon. The gentleman smiles. He would like Delza to be nearby to hear this answer. The brother is holding something shiny in his hands. He tried to bite it, but almost shattered his teeth. Usually he says that he almost broke them. The blonde takes the stone. If you pour money inside, a cold wind will blow. It's really amazing. Not everyone can do this. The world is not peaceful, so everyday magic is not as developed as combat magic, and the girl wanted to explore this interesting direction. Honey Badger is asked if he likes the stone. He answers that everything suits him, but at the same time not quite. He doesn't like the name, which is strange, because before everything suited him. When the beauty corrected herself and said her full name, Kim Honeyby, he immediately jumped into her arms. The baby thinks it's much better this way. He likes it. Yaten is located in the underground storage of the Imperial Palace, and returning there after so long feels strange, even unusual. The young man leans his hand against the stones. He feels the mana from the underground storage. It is completely frozen. It is not clear who did this, but magic is felt all around. The Lord turned to the Emperor. He told everything. No matter how hard he tried, he could not find evidence. They tried to catch Wilhelm and beat him. Even if he was innocent, this could serve as a warning to the real criminal. In any case, the magician never liked the young man. His gaze at the gift-giving ceremony was focused only on the young princess. The man's gaze was greedy. Baton didn't like it at all. This dirty look was easily recognizable. People usually don't look like that at something they don't want to get. The young man snorts. He should have gouged out his eyes, but it's a pity that this didn't happen. He ran away. It's a pity that he didn't get what he deserved. The blonde missed him, but not on purpose. Returning to the castle, the master found out that the underground storage was completely frozen. This does not look like a planned crime. Rather, the mana simply leaked out. There was a mistake, and it was made by a clumsy magician. It looks a bit like it all happened because of the princess. The emperor calmly replies that everything is clear to him. He is not surprised, and does not even understand where he should be surprised. The girl didn't use normal freezing magic. It was a side effect of something else. The vault froze right in the middle of summer. It's impressive that the mana leak caused so many problems. The size of the underground storage of the palace arena is enormous. Even outstanding mages cannot freeze the entire territory. The princess's innate ability and mana quality are at an incredible level. In other words, the girl is a genius. The emperor remains calm. He nods. Of course, everything is calm. After all, this is his daughter. Naturally, every father is convinced that his child is the best. Time goes by. The seasons change. The fifth winter is approaching, yet the days pass quickly. It's frightening. In her worries, the heroine didn't even notice how cold it got outside. Karen went to a conference, so before she returned, the girl began to study magic on her own. She became even busier, but the theory and formulas are so interesting that she likes everything. The lady heard that Wilhelm had gone missing, and his disappearance could be connected to the assignment that Baitun had received, or to the fact that his adopted daughter had left. Have to push away the terrible thoughts. There isn't much time left. I need to focus on what's happening. That will be the right thing to do. Mikhail distracts me from the formulas. He bursts into the room and asks to go sledding together. There is one cool place where it will be easy to try sledding for the first time in your life. The young man promises that his sister will like it. She asks if they can build a snowman, and he confidently raises his head. Just for you, we will even do this. The blonde decides to trust her brother, because he knows what needs to be done, which means there shouldn't be any problems. Despite this, her dreams were shattered, and Delza forbade her from leaving the palace. Lancer intervenes. He can accompany the Violet Ians. He asks the woman to hear him and agree. The man continues to try to force his wife to agree, but she believes that he is no longer trustworthy, meaning that they will all remain in the castle. Baton's voice is heard. He asks if he is suitable for the role of protector. The princess screams joyfully and runs to the teacher to hug him. They haven't seen each other for a long time. The young man picks up the girl in his arms. She has become sweeter. She was already pleasant before, but she has become even more beautiful. He smiles. The Lord behaves as usual. He almost died of boredom. He rather wanted to meet. Isabella replies that she missed him as much as he did. The little girl was sad, considering that when the young man left, the last time he didn't even say goodbye, leaving her completely alone. The blonde clutches his heart. He recreated the sound of a heartbeat with the help of magic. The Lord can't help but like it. He asks about the honey badger. The nasty creature has grabbed his head. The man takes the baby and hands it to the princess. She immediately apologizes. He is her friend, but since he is an animal, he has no manners at all. Kim Honeybye was almost finished off, so it was time to change the subject. The girl turns to the manager. She asks to go outside with Baitun. The woman agrees. The man is asked to take care of the prince and princess. There is nothing to worry about. He takes his job responsibly. Her face reflects genuine joy. For the first time in her entire life, both her first and second, she is going sledding, and the excitement does not leave her mind. Very soon they got ready and came to the descent site. They underestimated Mikhail. The blonde didn't think that they would be sliding down the rocks. They were so high that it was scary. It's unclear who opened the teleport gate to such a dangerous place. Creating a portal is very expensive, and maintenance is also very costly, so even in the main castle there are only a few of them. The gate was installed on the top of the mountain. The little girl wants to turn around and go back. Just just not to be in this place. Aitan asks if his charge is okay. She screams that she is afraid because she will die if she falls down. The man nods. I can pick you up, may I? The beauty agrees and asks not to be lowered to the ground. He presses the girl closer, so it will be calmer, even if they go down. Mikhail takes out the sled. He shrugs his shoulders, because he doesn't see a problem. It's so exciting that it's even fun. The green-hide one won't die. He wants to go down. The honey badger appears next to the master. They will race each other down the mountain. The young man promises himself that he will never lose. The beauty doesn't understand why they are taking what is happening so seriously. Even Kim Honeybai. The princess looks down and clings to the teacher even more. There is nothing to be done. She will continue to sit on her hands. So the girl never rode again, returning to the castle in Baton's arms. The young man did not get tired of holding her. On the contrary, he was happy that he could help to some extent. Finally, the beauty notices that it is incredibly expensive and difficult to maintain a teleportation gate on top of a mountain. It is not clear why they were installed not on the top of one of the mountains. The lord is impressed by the fact that the princess knows about the teleportation gate. Of course, he is exaggerating, although it cannot be said that the lady does not like flattery. It must be explained that the Elbirwa mountains are different, and therefore deserve attention. They border on Emutan, as everyone who has ever read about them knows. The Elbirwa mountains are a massive mountain range at the very north of the continent, beyond which lie the Freelands, and beyond them the non-human empire of Emutianion. It turns out that the girl has read about everything from books. The lord smiles again, noticing that it is wonderful that the young lady reads a lot, as is proper in order to become educated. The beauty nods, secretly glad that she managed to get out of it, even though she almost blurted out that she had read the book, which is in it 17 times in a row. In fact, the girl wants to say something. She is a little offended. The blonde freezes in surprise. He did not suspect that he offended the beauty. The young man laughed and admired the lady, but it seemed to her that he was simply enjoying her fear. She was upset because no attention was paid to her emotions. Sitting down in front of the young lady, the man calmly explains that he was simply admiring her. He did not want to make her doubt how important feelings are. In some ways, the lord was glad that the little girl was scared, because she was not afraid of even the most terrible things, always trying to remain fearless. The calmness makes the heart ache. The green-hide person feels helpless when he cannot change anything. Despite this, right on the mountain, the little girl showed her true emotions. She said that she was afraid of dying, probably for the first time in her entire life. Out of fear, the blonde pressed herself against the man, while he held her in his arms. She did not want to be lowered to the ground. What was happening made the young man incredibly happy. He must be a bad teacher, since he was glad to see the fear of his ward. The girl doesn't understand how to behave next. She didn't know that the hero had such feelings. He seems very upset. Suddenly, the princess hears a rumbling in her stomach. Realizing that she is hungry, the teacher suggests going and eating. She immediately nods. Yes, go ahead. I want a sandwich. Near the palace there is a place with delicious food. The bodies of children work differently. It seems that the appetite is what it should be. Having received a sandwich, the beauty understands that she is truly happy. Later, during a meeting with Lancer, the princess tells him that she saw the guards serving at the outposts of the Elbir Mountains, and she is very worried about them. It's already difficult in such a cold place, and on top of that, you have to defend yourself from monsters. They can't use the teleportation gates. It became sad, because they are not like the mistress. They move on a sleigh. The teacher explains that you can't compare. They are ordinary people. In order to launch the gate even once, colossal material investments are required. The gate should only be used in emergency situations. The heroine does not think that this is right. There is a reason why the imperial family freely uses the movement. The blonde personally experienced what it was like to be in the mountains. Looking at the soldiers who were working tirelessly, you can learn a lot, but the gates were hardly open for sledding. Teleportation has lost its meaning, but the maiden guessed correctly about its original purpose. She cannot believe that such a brilliant idea came to her mind. The little girl lifts the origami into the air lately. She has been thinking about making a gate that will be accessible to absolutely everyone. Heron arrived. She was late, so she apologizes. The girl always inspired horror, but now her face makes me even more afraid. The blonde must start a conversation. Once, she called her life a gift of fate. Before her death, she wants to leave a gift for the teacher. It would be nice if we could leave something that would remind people of the princess. She wants everyone to have good memories. A few days ago, she and her brother were sledding, and a brilliant idea came to mind, which the lady wants to use and bring to reality. The best thing, of course, is to create something that will help people use teleportation gates more often, not just in emergency situations. Heron listens and sadly lowers her head. It's sweet, however. This will remain an unrealizable dream. At the stage of technological development, it is impossible. An objection is heard. Recently, the girl felt a familiar flow of mana. It was similar to what she felt when she cast the interpretation spell on the honey badger. Then everything worked out for her. The teacher is handed the magical stone. CB run. A cold air emanates from it, and his eyes widen in surprise, because the princess was not taught anything like this. The girl continues. She is not sure, but it seems that it is possible to convert the flow of mana from constant to variable. The brunette raises an eyebrow. All magic is based on linear flow. It is not clear how the little girl is going to transform. It is scary that a mistake has occurred. Loving to overcome her fears, Isabella decides to finish the sentence. She hands over a piece of paper with drawings and asks to look at it. The girl created 3 flows of mana with the same frequency, but with different phases. She used a sinusoidal alternating flow with a phase difference of degrees varies between the amplitudes. Karen doesn't understand what is being discussed. The child tries to explain. An alternating flow is one that changes over time in the form of a sine wave. Using this formula will make it easier to strengthen and weaken magical pressure, allowing you to create a thin magical chain while reducing costs. The structure of the variable flow magic generator is simpler and more efficient than that of the constant flow magic generator, making gate control much easier. The theory has been applied to the magic stone, reducing the cost of generating cold air, and the same principle can be used to eliminate the shortcomings of teleportation gates. Karen can't help but start smiling. No one had ever thought of something like this before. The princess really is a true genius. This has been confirmed more than once. The woman's face is always gloomy. This always made the heroine sad. It turns out that the teacher can smile when she really likes something. After the lesson ended, the woman went straight to Baton. He was resting, so he did not want to talk, but the discussion could not be postponed. The green-hide man doesn't want to listen to the request unless it's directly related to Her Highness. It turns out that it's closely related to her, and the Lord's mood immediately changes. The man takes the lady into the room and asks if she needs tea or something to eat. She is unhappy. "You look like a madman. Please sit down." The woman wants to know the details. She asks a question about whether strange magical phenomena occurred in the palace arena. The interlocutor nods. The princess's mana froze the basement storage. Hearing this, the heroine asks to be listened to carefully, because she has a very important message. Side effects or adverse reactions may occur when using the constant flow method. If everything is systemated, Isabella will be able to receive an award from the academy. The young man looks calm, as if he knew that it was strange, because before he would have gone crazy from the news and started jumping around the office. Smiling, the hero remarks that he has simply grown a little, gained experience, and is no longer so simple. Karen does not pay attention. The answer is important to her. The help of a more experienced wizard will be needed to complement the princess's theory. Perhaps this means that Her Highness needs a new teacher. To be more precise, the lady needs a new wizard who has mastered both magical concepts and basic theory and engineering knowledge. As far as we know, the only person who has the required level is, of course, Wilhelm. The blonde snorts. The man disappeared like a rat. The magician tried to steal the baby. They wanted to punish him, but he hid. It's funny that a seemingly good adoptive father steals children. He needed Karen for a reason, and if he's on the run, he'll need her even more. The woman still has a lot to learn from her father, so she is going to go to him. Every second with him is like a long winter, but she needs to protect the spring that saved her from the cold. Later, the girl went to the princess. Before leaving, she needs to say goodbye. As soon as she enters, the blade is sharply pointed. Baton is standing in the doorway, having to ask what's going on, so tries to imitate the child who asked not to let the mentor leave the castle. Baton doesn't want to talk further. He takes a rope out of his bosom. Isabella is visible behind. They ask her to help. The teacher is too strong for a man to handle her alone, so the girl can use magic. But she doesn't refuse, but takes the rope. Running closer, the little girl carefully begins to tie her hands, doing as the Lord explains to her, and getting the most beautiful bow ever seen. The brunette doesn't understand why she had to be tied up. The princess heard that very soon the teacher would go to a bad person, namely Wilhelm. The young man smiles. He told everything. He cowed and hold back. He only had to mention that the lady was going to her father, and the little girl immediately understood everything. It's not for nothing that the hero and doesn't allow the meeting. The magician had a very bad aura about him. After the first meeting, goosebumps of horror ran down her spine. Karen can't go to him. Since the plot is known, the lady is afraid that the woman will become a villain, and they cannot be allowed to meet and be together for a sufficient amount of time. The blonde doesn't take no for an answer. She has only one option left, and that's to play on her pity. She asks if the lady likes the bow she specially knitted. Isabella announced that Karen would stay with her, all thanks to the rope, and there was nothing left to do but give her consent. Soon, we still have to leave. Baton is also getting ready, but before that, the princess wants to talk to him. Something is bothering her. The little girl doesn't understand the teacher's motives, but he simply doesn't want her to leave. Just like that, he needs to introduce her to a person who is much better than Wilhelm. The child read in a book that there was an eccentric engineer named Tyslon, who was expelled from the Miro-Tel Association, sent to the Irvi Mountains, and in the future, he would become a Run's companion. The man was sent into exile, but in reality, it was a place where he could comfortably study magical engine. Mirroring, he later teamed up with the protagonist and became his assistant in business. Beauty thinks that he can help the mentor, but the mountain range is very large. Finding it will be quite a task, even for knights. The teacher quickly agreed, without a second's hesitation, because he wanted to help his student, and Tislan would definitely be found soon. Baitan arrives for training with His Majesty. He asks for forgiveness, because he was delayed, but he has an urgent report. The green-hide man is calm when he says that he might have to disobey his master's orders to let him understand. He has to tell the story in more detail. Baitan will need someone to keep an eye on Wilhelm, preferably someone as capable as Sir Lancer. Ron nods, which makes one wonder. The hero thought that observing the wizard was the most important task, because it was unclear when he would appear and try to lure the princess to him again. The man explains that he must fulfill Isabella's request in days. He will go to the Herve Mountains, of course. It will not be easy there, but the mission is worth it. The blonde needs permission to use the teleportation gate. Last time he was sent on a business trip on foot. It was terrible. Ron is kind, but only temporarily, taking advantage of the opportunity. The subordinate asks to give him unlimited access to the gate. Smiling, he explains, "Let me do this just for my kindness." The gentleman swings his sword, causing the young man to jump aside. He asks for at least a raise in salary, but even this will remain only a wish, not a reality. In the evening, Yu puts the baby to bed. The day went well. She is glad that she did not say anything unnecessary while stopping Karen. "It's good that the nanny found a book about Tislan. Hope the teacher will understand everything. I need to be careful, because I can't let anyone know about the reincarnation. The holy knights will immediately take the lady away." Strange sound is heard outside the window. It distracts from thoughts. It seems like the shutters were closed, but then it is open again. Fear is reflected in the eyes. Something is crawling on the bed. It's a shadow, or something else. The little girl understands that she urgently needs to call someone, because it could be Wilhelm. The body is constrained. All that remains is to cover herself with a blanket. Soft fur touches his cheek, opening his eyes. The child sees a honey badger in front of him. He says that he came because he missed his friend. The beauty asks if he wants to sleep with her, and the answer is a slight nod. She wants someone to sleep with her. It will be better if Honey is nearby. They let Ian jumps towards the mistress, and she calmly hugs him, pressing him a little closer to herself. He is soft and warm, and on top of all this, he also smells incredibly pleasant. The eyes close, peace reigns and nothing is scary anymore. The animal likes to cuddle. It will be great to sleep together always. The animal agrees to this. Several days pass. The princess did not expect it, but then Baton returns. It is impossible to hide her sincere joy. Coming down from the top floor, the girl hurries to meet the man who has visited the Irvine mountain range, and even met a man named Tislan. Greenside recalls his trip with a less than happy face on the very first day. Many poisonous arrows flew at him, and then flying swords. The man tried to fight back as best he could, but it was too difficult. Some madman had set up a huge number of traps, the number of which could be compared to the Herma Plateau, teeming with cannibals. The number of traps around the small house increased. Most likely, the person the man needed was there. Getting closer, he heard a voice. The old man noticed that there was a swordsman in front of him. He didn't like that someone had entered his lands. Tislan used magic, noticing, "That's why I hate humans." Breaking into someone else's house without an invitation is perhaps too much. Only a fool who does not value his life would dare to venture onto the mountain ridge. It seemed that the Lord had fallen, but at the last moment he rose to his feet, again holding his sword forward. He asks to speak, introducing himself as the first advisor of the Violet Ian Empire. The magician knew that this was no ordinary boy, but a big shot, and he would be refused a conversation, since there was nothing to talk about with a swordsman magician. The battle continued for a long time, and finally the old man's strength was exhausted. If he had been years younger, he would have fought longer. The Lord was also quite tired. This was not how he had imagined the meeting. The blonde doesn't like his new acquaintance. It seems he even developed a new phobia of old people. He would leave, but first, the princess asked him to give her the letter. The man didn't read the news, and didn't know that a girl was born in the Empire. He thinks she's ordinary, but he's wrong. Baitan assures him that Isabella is a young genius. After reading the letter, the old man snorts. If she really wants help, she must come herself. While they were talking, Tislan prepared a teleportation circle and disappeared. Isabella will have to accept the truth, because the old man is hopeless, the baby is sad, she really needs that man. Without the Lord nothing will work out. Baitan asks not to call the old man an honorary title that he does not deserve. The blonde should not meet with him, and especially not alone. It seems that the Lord was hit hard. Even the main character had a hard time when he first met the magician. Tislan has a bad character. The little girl tries to find out if she was really asked to come in person. The teacher tries to lie. But of course, almost immediately, it becomes clear that his words are not true. The heroine puts on a sweet face, and tries to evoke a feeling of guilt with sad eyes. She begs for help, because she really needs it. The man has to agree before they go up the mountain. He asks to stay nearby. At the top, even at night, you can see the clouds. The fresh air and the crunch of snow are pleasant. Ji holds a plate in her hands, and tears come to her eyes from the spicy soup prepared by Baton. However, the dish is delicious. The girl had never tried anything like it in her past life. The princess feels happy. She feels good, because on top of everything else, there is someone pleasant nearby. The journey will drag on. The next day, he manages to reach the hut. Tislan came out onto the path, smiling, because the one he didn't want to see had come again. It is unacceptable to swear, especially in the company of a 6-year-old. The Lord covers the princess's ears, and he himself becomes increasingly angry. The magician does not believe that he should watch his language when he is in front of royalty, since he himself does not live in the empire. The little girl was silent, and then suddenly called the gentleman a name in response, which made him feel embarrassed. Baton jumped in surprise, while she continued, "Adults are not allowed to swear in front of children." Despite the way the man receives travelers, he is not at all evil, because the road was pleasant after all. Tislan does not like uninvited guests. When he first came to him, the emperor's assistant fell into all sorts of traps. The protagonist also went through problematic areas. He even got injured while looking for the magician, but if he really didn't like people, he would have strengthened the traps, or even left the house altogether. The old man snorts, trying to justify his relaxed demeanor by saying that the barrier has broken, and until everything returns to normal, they can talk inside the hut. While at home, Tislan again repeats how much he hates humans, yet he made tea, although it seems like it's just politeness. The girl knows everything. She asks why it was was necessary to research the magical barrier, the man seems to want to help people. Snorting again, the mage looks at the child, realizing that she is sick. Since she is talking nonsense, Beitun's patience is running out. He looks like he will jump up and hurt the owner of the house at any moment. The little girl intervenes before something irreparable happens. She wonders why such a talented magician was exiled. Maybe it's because there are enough bad adults in the world. People who give off a bad vibe never share what they have, because the truth is probably that they didn't like the research. The young hero dreamed of helping people. He thought he could make them happy. He wanted to share with everyone the magic that only a select few had access to. The young man always had great ambitions. Even though he was expelled from the magical association due to his importuni, he never stopped wanting to be a magician for all the people. Unfortunately, after the exile, the peace ended. Ordinary people began to persecute him. They did not believe in the guy, accusing him of all the sins of the world. People thought he was a lazy magician. They persecuted him daily. Thus his youthful dreams were destroyed beyond repair. Isabella believes that the owner of the house is right. He nods. But still, his dreams are in the past. The world does not need kind adults. It needs the rich and strong. A smile appears on her face. Violet Ian likes good people. That's why she loves Baton very much. He always helps her and fulfills all her requests, showering her with love. The princess also likes Taislan. He can't believe what was said. But then the lady extends her hand. I can help you, and not only you. The girl herself understands that she is not an ordinary child. Her time is limited, not like everyone else's, so every day needs to be used profitably and appreciated even more. Kind adult lady would not be a bad thing, so she is fully prepared to support the Lord. She just needs to get his consent. The princess is asked why she so desires support. She knows how to answer, because a run in the novel said exactly these words when he tried to convince the master. In the end, the lady only dreams of a just world. Nothing more. This world gave her years, which means it needs to be thanked. Taislan looks at the guests in surprise. He meets such a person for the first time. A 6-year-old child considers his life a gift, and knows that there is not much time left. The blonde suddenly remembers her pet animal. The honey badger lives with her in the castle. He has fluffy and soft fur, and he also smells the most pleasant of all, like honey. The baby is cute and brave, and when the girl touches his fur, she always feels as if she is touching a cloud. The old man is surprised while the heroine continues to tell her story. Once again, the lady used her privilege. After reading the novel, she knows that the magician is crazy about animals. He definitely liked the story about honey. A carriage is heading to the castle, with a little girl in it. The gentleman watches attentively as the hero unquietly repeats his words. She was asked to befriend Mikhail from the palace arena. This will be a small but important mission. The man strokes the child's head and praises her for her excellent memory. But she is still dissatisfied, because she doesn't like swordsmen. They are all uneducated and ignorant. The girl thinks that the young man will stink, but they ask her to calm down after all. Violetian is a prince, and since they have arrived to the emperor, not everything will be so bad. The beauty looks around the garden. There is no exquisite magical engraving, only ordinary marble and ordinary tiles. It is sad that there is not even a hint of grace and elegance. Suddenly, a boy appears outside the window. Reina immediately freezes and cannot understand what is happening. She points her fingers at the street, but there is no one there anymore. Brushing it off, the child notes that it just seemed that way to her. It's not clear how one can run at the speed of a moving carriage after all. This is considered impossible. Yale watches the carriage move forward. He is dirty, but still does not understand who has arrived at the estate. They have to introduce themselves. Princess arrived back at the estate. She was a little tired. She felt like she really wanted to sleep. They picked up the child in her arms so she could rest a little. Taislan is asked how he feels. He is not going to ride. One ride made him feel ill. It seems his age is taking its toll. It is time to go to his rooms. The girl was sent to bed. Wished sweet dreams. They would not see each other until the morning, so it was time to rest. The door closed. It became quiet. As usual, the honey badger crawls out onto the bed, snuggles up to the princess and falls asleep with her, not yet suspecting that something important will happen in the morning. After hours of sleep, the girl opens her eyes and looks at the door. There is a noise. The nanny's voice explains to another that the lady has gotten up and should not be disturbed. The blonde has to get up and go out into the corridor. The stranger remarks that she is disappointed with the refusal to go into Isabella's chambers, and she does not understand who has been clinging to our Yuka since this morning. The stranger does not listen to a persuasion. She abruptly steps on the maid's foot to hurt her. Violet Ian is no longer silent. She menacingly asks, "What are you doing?" The heroine looks at Reina and orders her to answer. Of course she knows her. How can one not know the only daughter of the Duke of Rothschild? Her manners are quietly terrifying. While the Violet Ian imperial family rules the continent with force, the Duke rules it with gold. The man in charge of the continent's finances, one of the duchies that emerged with the empire, is closely linked to the scholars of the Sword Grove who keep the imperial family in check. Reina was Isabella's only friend, but only in public, because she was the one who provoked and manipulated the villain. She constantly said that she only wanted the best. The princess, almost every time, succumbed to manipulation, and then committed various atrocities. She did not understand that she was being dragged into a pit. Stepping forward, the lady responds rudely. It seems that the Duchess, despite her extensive knowledge in the field of finance, is completely unfamiliar with etiquette. Standing in front of the maid, the girl looks into the eyes of her interlocutor. She demanded her attention, and therefore, she must greet her. The green yand, one pretends to ask for forgiveness, but in her heart, she does not consider the royal person respectable because she cannot master the vile Ian technique and therefore is useless. Bowing his head, Rothschild greets Isabella, introducing himself with his full name, as he believes it is an honor for me to meet you. The blonde also follows etiquette, introducing herself in response, smiling. She states that she is glad to meet. She is interested in what brought the Duchess to her room. Chuckling, Rani explains that she heard rumors about a rare toy, an animal that is so unique that it even understands human speech. Honey comes out from behind the leg. His name seems funny, he growls, but to calm him down, the lady takes the baby in her arms. He is not a toy, but my friend. The green yin side, one pretends not to understand. A toy cannot be a friend. Isabella starts to get angry. She has already said that an animal is not a doll, which means this is already a direct insult. Rothschild nods. She needs to finish the job. She is very greedy for all sorts of rarities. Can you sell me this little animal? The beauty, without asking permission, stretches her hand forward. Almost immediately her finger is bitten. The baby was simply defending himself. No one will blame him. The girl runs away, screaming at the whole corridor, completely ignoring the blonde asking the nanny if her leg is okay. Everything is fine. After some time, everyone gathered in the king's hall, the duke and his daughter, as well as the princess. Ron demands an explanation, because something happened that Rothschild did not like. Before starting the explanation, the little girl decides to clarify one important point without details. The story will be one-sided and incomplete. Lady Reina must answer for the shame brought upon the imperial family. Therefore, the duke must bring his daughter down to earth. She cannot hide behind her father. The baby screams that it hurts and refuses to come down. Isabella has to start with the most important thing. The lady called her friend a toy. According to the interlocutor, people are not friends with animals. The blonde doesn't back down. She's outraged by the fact that the baby was asked to be sold, despite the fact that the girl repeatedly said that she wouldn't do it. For the empire's financier, the fact that his daughter was seriously harmed is much more important. The beauty is a little envious of the way the man treats Ren, and no matter what happens, he will always be on her side. The princess needs to finish what she started. The important thing on the agenda is that the king's family was insulted. She replies that she understands the seriousness of the words spoken to her. Honey responds to her name. This becomes further proof. The animal stands on its hind legs, staying close to its owner. The duke snorts. It doesn't seem to matter, because every trained animal easily responds to its name. The honey badger is not special. Lifting her friend in her arms, Violet Ian continues. She ends by saying that the name was invented by her brother. She also participated, which means that he belongs entirely to the imperial family. Despite the request, Rana continued to insult the name given to a person of royal blood, so it becomes clear who is to blame. The father puts his daughter down on the floor. She tries to object, but she is calmly asked to apologize. I don't want to. It hurts me, because he hurt me. The emperor finally speaks up. His family usually warns only once. One can consider the little duchess very lucky, because everything could have ended not so well. The girl's father bows his head. He feels uneasy. He needs to finish the matter quickly. He failed to raise his daughter properly. The little girl tries to say that she will talk to the princess. Looking at Isabella, Rothschild only received a calm smile. Not only she alone had a father, the maiden also had one, and on top of all this, he was so handsome. Reina has to put her pride aside. She swallows her discontent. She has to bow her head and ask for forgiveness. Everything is fine. They will not quarrel anymore. The duke and emperor's families have a mutually beneficial relationship, but they do not respect each other. The emperor provides the military, while the duke is responsible for the finances. The princess understands why the Rothschilds do not respect her at all. Despite the fact that everything is clear to her, she certainly does not intend to sit back and do nothing. It is not that simple. The beauty plans to earn money for the imperial family. She even knows how she will do it. The plan has long been formed in her head. All that remains is to bring it to reality. Tai Slun hugs Honey, who resists with all his might and growls, trying to scratch. The man does not pay attention. He really likes the animal, and his fur is considered a fairy tale. The girl didn't expect that the animal would really appeal to the magician so much, even though she advertised its wool for precisely this purpose. Honey looks and asks for help. The lady is sorry, but she cannot take him and save him. She begs with her eyes that the baby will get along with the old man, because he promises that he will teach him everything that is required of him if he spends every day with the animal. The honey badger has been through a lot, first in the hands of the prince, and then ending up with Reina. The beauty promises that if Violet Ian behaves well, she will even kiss him. The beauty pretends to reach out to him, although it is believed that a kiss is equal to marriage, but at that moment Tai Slun kisses him. The animal almost immediately jumps into the air and releases its claws. The carriage leaves the emperor's residence. Reina screams that she hates her father because he did not protect her. Most of all, she hates the princess, who imagines herself to be the smartest. The little girl hates the king's entire family. They are disgusting. The green-eyed girl remembers the conversation and still cannot understand why everything ended strangely. The story should have been different. She had to accept the hand of her new acquaintance, because there was simply no other way out. She would have been branded a villain if she had refused the agreement. She believes that everything was set up on purpose. Stamping his feet, Rothschild shouts that Isabella is just a practically beggarly princess, a savage who has no dignity. The girl is obviously very upset. The father tries to calm his daughter down. down, but he just has to wait. He will do everything to put Violet Ian in an awkward position, making them all realize how powerful wealth is. A week passes. All this time information was being collected, and finally Her Highness receives a paper with everything she asked for. She thanks the nanny, and, having read the first lines, is happy. One of the pieces of paper had a message about a math Olympiad on it. Taislin asks if the lady would like to participate and receives a positive answer. A letter of recommendation is required to apply for the competition. The little girl was aware of this, and reports that Karen wrote her a recommendation, as she immediately agreed. The truth is that the lady only wants to participate for the money, but no one knows that. The old man nods. It is he who should find out what the essence of the Olympics is. The man, having heard the true desire, tries to hold back his laughter with the amount indicated. It will not be possible to get rich with such an amount. One cannot even buy a room in the capital. The teacher is a realist. The little girl snorts. Her childhood dreams have been destroyed. The princess wants to help someone. She does not want to ask her father for government money, because it is better to invest personally. The newspaper usually lists major and minor incidents that happened during the week. This time it was the story of a boy who came to the Duke's house, and was beaten and thrown out. The young man's name was N. Armour, and after reading the novel, it became clear that one day he would become the richest man in the world, and head the richest Veyrote family, which would surpass even the Rothschilds. Isabella understands what exactly she should do if she enters into an alliance. She will not have to worry about the Duke's influence, because the future will be predetermined, and for the better. Irun returns to his mother. She almost immediately asks about his day. The young man does not really remember the details, and even gets upset. Nobody wants to forget important moments. The guy felt warm and comfortable during the day, and he wanted to remember what had happened to leave such a feeling in his heart. It's obvious that the hero had a great time. Camellia strokes his head and suggests going for a walk together. This will certainly lift his spirits. The brunette goes outside. He looks at the sky, but then his attention is drawn to a glowing thing in the grass. He has never seen such a light before. Outsiders cannot enter the dragon's domain. A run breaks away, and runs forward. Very soon he stops, and sees a scarlet stone in front of him, from which a bright glow emanates. Picking up the jewel, the little dragon recognizes its beauty. Never before has he encountered something so beautiful, and it seems as if the thing radiates magical power. The mother catches up with her son, and asks what he is doing. Arun likes the stone, and expresses a desire to know more. Camellia doesn't remember the exact story, but it seems like it's about a gift. Everything on the territory belongs to the dragon. Of course he can take the jewel, but it is not clear what he is going to do. The woman feels a lot of positive emotions, most likely the experience of living, as a honey badger influences her personality in this way. This cannot but please. The princess goes to the garden early in the morning. She doesn't know what happened, but all the flowers have bloomed. The manager notes that this is impossible, because the earth never allowed plants to grow. The incident is reminiscent of what happened with the cellar. It may be connected with the powers of the lady. There is a stone in her hands. The little girl found it last night. The honey badger explained that he picked it up on the way. The little animal wanted to give the jewel to its owner. He can't say exactly why, but he considers it indescribable beauty, which means the reason is quite compelling. He thought of Isabella. The blonde couldn't help but smile. She couldn't believe that such a romantic honey badger existed in the world. She thanked him for receiving a wonderful gift. The girl didn't know, but the young man believed that he had entered into a contract, because the precious stone was considered an engagement gift, and that was what he wanted most of all. Delzy examines the item. She agrees with the princess, because she too has never seen anything like it. Looking at the blossoming flowers in the stone, the manager recalls one legend. It is said that in the imperial family of Violet Ians, the treasure engagement stone was used for proposals. The legend is quite interesting in itself. According to what is known, if you swear on this stone, love will blossom and flowers will bloom everywhere. The blonde closes her eyes. The legend is truly romantic. The lady asks if her father proposed to her mother with the stone. Delza shakes her head. The treasure was lost years ago. There is another legend that the dignity was stolen by the infamous evil dragon. According to records, the treasure, which had disappeared long ago, was a red stone, so bright that it could not be confused with any other. Delza examines the garden. Everything fits together, but the thought has to be put aside, because the honey badger cannot pick up the treasure that was lost so many years ago. The woman decides that everything lies in the talent of the princess, who, without even realizing it, made all the flowers bloom. A few days later, the beauty arrived at the territory of the Miro Tel Magical Association, just in time to participate in the Olympiad for which she was registered. The girl thought that everything would go smoothly, but she couldn't help but realize that she was wrong, because at the gate she was met by someone who definitely could not take part in the competition. Delza wasted no time in going to check the stone, and was told that the item was genuine. The engagement stone was created by Sebastian, and there could be no mistake. The woman asks to check again, but a refusal is heard, as his blood relative, Marco J. Uarmil, an imperial jewel appraiser, cannot be mistaken. This is without a doubt the very same lost artifact. The man came at Her Highness's request for an appraisal, and saw the legendary stone. He doesn't understand how the honey badger got hold of the thing. The brunette wants to get his hands on the treasure, and he's so happy that he's ready to pay any amount. Delza calmly takes the box back. She doesn't sell it, because the ownership of the jewel belongs to Isabella. It can only be rented out. If Marco isn't interested, then the thing will be taken to auction. The brunette jumps up in horror, not understanding whether he misheard, or whether the legend will be sold at auction. The woman repeats again that she will rent out the jewel school. The news alone brings enormous benefits. A rent of 100 million ruden a year is nothing. The manager is not so simple. She knows that she will definitely preserve the princess's property, and will not do anything like that. She only wants to be useful, despite her reluctance to sell. Delza turned to Marco, because he has a connection with the manufacturer's family. The man exhales with disappointment. Okay, I'll pay the rent. The rent will be million ruden per year. If there is agreement, the manager will accept payment in advance in cash. The contract will be renewed annually, although the price will not be comparable to the value. The woman knows where to push. She declares that such a sum will not be a problem for the greatest appraiser of the empire. The gentleman agrees. Her Highness will be pleased. Isabella is near the gate and greets Reina. The girl smiles falsely. She heard that the lady is participating in the Olympiad in mathematical sciences. The blonde nods and asks a counter-question. Rothschild was mentioned in the news. I'm sure the competition allows everyone under to enter and compete. The prize fund is only million ruden. In fact, this is a children's level. It is not clear why the daughter of the richest man in the empire is chasing a small prize. Baton helps the princess and straightens her clothes. Rana notices him almost immediately. Her eyes light up with fire. The young man introduces himself. I serve the princess. The beauty smiles. Her face is completely red. It is known that the young man is a wonderful adjutant, famous for his achievements in military affairs and science. She behaves as if she fell in love at first sight. Even Rothschild recognizes Baton as an attractive man, and there are probably no such men in her duchy. The maiden is very curious as to why the emperor's daughter is interested in mathematics. The little girl is trying to deliberately tease him by asking if the fact that swordplay is unavailable prompted him to make the choice. Reina wants to quarrel for a reason. The answer is simple and calm. Everyone likes to study, and especially the young lady. That's why she decided to participate. The lord takes Isabella by the hand. This seems to make the 10-old girl jealous. There is someone else behind Reina. She is forced to say hello, a commoner named Yuri. She is the patron of the ducal house, and helps in everything, trying her best. The princess freezes, her mind immediately remembering what the book said about the commoner. She was a mathematical genius, and at 9 years old, she took care of her sick mother and younger brothers. Virgo, who was constantly forced to live in a brutal struggle for the Rothschilds' patronage, did not play a major role in the original, but was remembered because she resembled a heroine. Isabella shows interest. She's glad to meet you, and asks if Yuri will participate. We read about the girl in the news. You really are very strong. To set the beauty up positively, the girl approaches and promises that she will always help, so if anything happens, you can safely contact her. Straight to the palace arena. Baton, as usual, can't contain his admiration for his charge. The beauty is truly very kind. It's hard to believe that she's so happy to help others, spending her time. Even after Reina's sharp words, the lady remained completely unperturbed and carried out the task to the very end. The little girl smiles. She simply did not want to waste time on trifles. The girl asks him to spin her around in his arms a little more, but there is no choice, because Honey jumps on the man's head. He doesn't like that there is too much touching. He needs to stop touching the princess. The teacher looks up with displeasure. He feels that a little more and he will break down, but the girl assures that everything is fine. Her friend himself does not understand what he is doing. Isabella takes the baby in her arms, and immediately asks how he got to them. It turns out that he secretly got into the carriage, while understanding exactly where she was heading. The animal hadn't shown its presence during the 3 days. It had taken them to get there, and it was a master of daytime sleep, so it didn't think it would be a problem. The day of the Olympics arrives. Everyone has been given time to make emergency preparations. Reina asks Yuri where Isabella is. The lists have been checked, but the name was not found. The Duchess screams and stamps her feet. The princess is worthless. She has no right not to show up, otherwise it won't be so interesting. And on top of all this, the lady clearly has other desires. The beauty wants to see Baton, who is accompanying the lady. Yuri offers to find out where they are, but she is asked not to do this. There is no need for this. It's likely that the girl realized her situation, and, in fear, refused to participate. And it's clear that this is the most obvious development of events. A princess cannot participate in stupid Olympics. The commoner has to agree. She will have to try hard. After all, but the Rothschilds are patrons, so her results are the face of the masters. The Violet Ians, as everyone knows, invested only in children who were good at fencing. They never participated in competitions, because they were focused on knightly abilities and their development. It's strange that the upstart decided to stick her nose in where she's not wanted. She doesn't even wield a sword, and that's even funnier. Yuri needs to get results in order to wipe her nose. The little girl sits and cannot believe that she got to school. She sits at a desk on a school chair. This makes her nervous. In her past life, she was not able to go to an educational institution normally. While writing down her next solution, the lady admits to herself that the Olympiad is much simpler than expected. Any student in the science field can easily cope with something like this. As a rule, if the scores are tied at a competition, the one who submitted the work first wins, so just in case, the lady hurries to the teacher with her sheet of paper. The girl hands over the work, but does not understand why the man is looking at her strangely. She is allowed to leave, because since the time is up, she can go home. The results take about a month to come out. On the day the results were announced, Reina showed up at the estate. She came to put the princess in her place, and of course, to mock her. The girl was about to open the letter, but the nanny appeared just in time and said that Rothschild had arrived. She had not been invited again, and she decided to come without an invitation. The baby decides to check all the ratings later. Baton is upset, because he was full of desire to confirm how smart Isabella is. He has to greet the Duchess. The girl almost immediately switches her attention to the Lord for her. The majority will meet His Majesty's assistant again for her. He is too handsome. Yuri also came, The green-eyed girl suddenly says that the girl took first place at the Olympics. This is a real achievement that is worthy of praise. The blonde is happy and immediately begins to congratulate. The heroine knew that the commoner could handle it, but the joy on her face was not visible. She had to apologize for her overly violent reaction. It was just difficult to contain her joy. Looking down, the girl thanks him. She is sincerely pleased. Reina intervenes. She does not understand why she should be so happy that someone else took first place. In fact, the lady is impressed by Yuri's path. The Duchess must feel the same, but there is no admiration visible on her part, only dry dissatisfaction. It's time to check the results, which was not possible because of the guests, but now they can all open the treasured envelope with the results together. Bai Tun picks up the message, shaking with excitement, and when it becomes clear that the lady has taken second place, he immediately begins to celebrate, which was to be expected, but only in the opinion of the Duchess. Virgo believes that an appeal should be filed, but the princess's dignity should not be harmed naturally. The problem needs to be resolved, although the honesty is striking. Bai Tun wants to know from the lady what went wrong. The truth is that she is sure that all the tasks are correct, and besides, she submitted the task first, which means that second place is not deserved. The Mirotel Magic Association is not empty. A princess has arrived at the number 1 magic tower, all in order to compete for her place in the Olympics. They want to refuse the blonde, but she understands that she needs to prove it with actions. Grabbing the chalk, the girl wants to show the method she used to solve one of the problems. The magicians gathered in the hall do not understand how a six plane, all the details so clearly and easily. She shows how she came to the decision, and notes that she was even the first to hand in the work. The beauty can't understand how she took second place. It's not easy to give an answer before the results were announced. There was a commotion in the magic tower. Everyone understood that they couldn't allow the princess to take first place this time. The first and main student of the magician Chansong, Master Marnan, took part in the Olympiad. It must not become known that the boy had lost to Violet Ian, and he could not be allowed to take second place, so the mages came up with the perfect loophole. The girl says that the mathematical symbol used is not recognized in the system, and instead of lowering her scores, they decided to award her an honorary place, taking into account her abilities. The blonde understands that she really made a mistake. The symbol is familiar to her, but that doesn't mean it will be used in the new world. The loss will be accepted with dignity. The door opens. Karen enters. She doesn't explain anything except that the princess won. She specially prepared a document for the woman. Please look at it in person. A month ago, the teacher checked all of Isabella's solutions. They were flawless, but one of the formulas was bothering her, because it was completely new. Karen lived in the tower, so she understood that the professors would use the formula as an excuse to remove Violet Ian. They didn't want to let her win. With ease, the woman figured out an interesting fact. Marn had participated in the competition, so the difficulty of the work was reduced to maintain the prestige of the great magician. The girl was worried, and decided to be prepared for anything. Turning to the head, she defiantly asked if the professors hadn't read the recently published journals. The lady was one of those who approved Karen's dissertation, for which the professor left for an indefinite period, leaving the princess alone. The concept the girl shared was completely new. It was officially registered in the journal, even if it was done by a mage. Everything happened in the name of Violet Ian Jr. If you look closely at the work, there is a special symbol that was published in the journal. The professor herself approved the formula Isabella's theorem. The magicians have no choice. 3 days later, news spread throughout the empire. The princess became the youngest winner of the mathematical Olympiad. In the 500 years of the competition's existence, something like this has never happened before. She is from the Sword Empire, yet she has an excellent mind. According to rumors, the little girl is only years old. They said that the girl lacked royal dignity, since she was raised in the empire, but she is truly graceful, shining so that it blinds, while standing in one place. The beauty goes out to a press conference, and is asked if it's true that she almost lost first place. This expression isn't entirely correct, since the decision did, in fact, use an extremely unusual symbol. The princess is calm as usual. It's hard to believe that she's only years old. This is her first public performance, but she continues, I just wanted to show that I can succeed in more than just fencing. The maiden was born in the Empire of the Sword, and does not even know how to wield a weapon. Despite this, everyone shines differently. The princess is asked another question. Someone heard that the best Olympiad winners get into the magic tower. It's a tradition. Perhaps the girl will also get in, since she has achieved so much already. At the beginning of the path to studying magic has been laid, but the beauty has no intention of enrolling, and someone is indignant, because this is a direct omission of a huge talent. The blonde finds the perfect answer, even to this. Instead of becoming a great person, she wants to study art, modestly, and with pleasure. The lady will enjoy a short life, if she says that she wants to use magic not for wars. Perhaps she will live an amazing life like Taislan. The princess is going to donate the money. To spite the Rothschilds, she will invest the entire amount in an armor. She will accumulate wealth that no one will be able to compete with. Hearing this, the assembled people begin to exclaim, and praise Violet Ian. Not everyone is capable of experiencing such compassion for strangers. It is truly mesmerizing. After the conference, the lady arrived at the castle. She was incredibly tired. Yukai also thinks that the lady is amazing. In the news they wrote a whole poem about her, noting the sunny intentions and warmth. The nanny was proud of the girl. The The beauty became an example even for Yuri from Rothschild. Raina was probably furious after everything was so easily cleared up and turned against her. It's becoming sad. The Duchess may take out her anger on her ward. I want to hope that everything is okay with them, because it will not be possible to check it make sure. The girl asks the maid for a favor if it works out. She wants to be notified if there is any news from Yuri. The answer is a nod, and they should go to a special dinner. Isabella still has many opportunities to appear before people. She lived only years out of the years allotted to her by fate. Since she is now the cutest, she will shine even brighter in the cutest dress of the empire. A noise is heard outside the gates. The knight orders to get out, but it is not clear to whom. The maid checks everything. Yuri is behind the door. She begs to see Her Majesty. The brunette prevents her from intervening, because she cannot leave the situation like that. Yuryukan informs the knight that the child is indeed a guest. Isabella personally asked to bring her. Of course, the answer is not positive. There are many maids who claim to be the mistress's nannies. It is impossible to get any favors simply by using Her Majesty's name. A woman is asked to clean up. It is not listened to when she talks about her identity card. Soon the guard loses his temper. He grabs the girl by the clothes. He has seen a lot of counterfeit papers. During all this time, he realized that it is very easy to forge them. Someone stops a young man. The lady with scarlet hair suggests checking his ID. Anyway, there's no point in intimidating people. They'll be afraid to approach later. The woman checks everything herself. The piece of paper turns out to be genuine, and they both immediately apologize because the princess's wish was ignored, and they ask the subordinate to forgive her. The red-haired woman wants to visit Isabella in person to apologize. The nanny watches the lady. One cannot help but notice that she is truly a delightful person. Yuri came to the lady. She can't hold back her tears. In fact, the support that the Rothschilds were giving stopped. They thought it was worth severing ties. The girl was framed. They said that she stole. It was all Raina's influence. They wanted to get rid of the child, but since there was no reason, the best option turned out to be frame her. In the original, they also tried to turn Isabella against others, doing everything to make her believe. The baby cries because she didn't steal anything and asks to believe. The Violet Ian support for someone who was driven out by the Rothschilds will create political problems, but despite this, there is a sincere desire to help. Yuri herself is fine, but her mother is suffering. The girl came to Delza, as is appropriate for a manager. She is well informed about all the affairs in the castle. She needs to find out if there is a way to help. There is no benefit for the princess, but this does not always matter. One cannot simply close one's eyes to the burden of life that a child carries alone. It seems heavy. The girl is not useless. It is not clear what the future will be, but there is faith that she will become someone important. The interlocutor listens and nods. It's clear from his eyes that the decision was made long ago. If that's the will, everything will have to be done. Powers will be used to make Yuri a maid. There is one condition. The permission of the imperial family is required. This issue will inevitably sink the Rothschilds, so the emperor must consider it first. Delza wants to take care of everything personally, however. The little girl declares that she will have a conversation with her parents herself. It will be better, and most importantly, more correct. The girl is having dinner with her family, something she could only dream of in her past life. The meeting took place specifically to make Yuri a maid, but happiness still lurks within. The empress finally asks why they were all gathered together. Every movement of Serna is graceful and elegant. She is amazing and really cool. You want to match her. The girl is silent for a while at first, but then she finally speaks up, and the room immediately goes silent, making it clear that the matter on the agenda is not so easy. Isabella is asked if she is sure of her decision, and before she can open her mouth, her father smirks, thinking the idea is incredibly stupid. Serna intervenes in the conversation. She notes that the child may misunderstand, and this will lead to problems. The little girl is asked not to take it to heart. There is no point in listening to the opinion of the Rothschilds. I have to ask if the father is angry. He is not lying when he says that everything is fine, and then he takes his daughter in his arms. She becomes sad. I heard that even the smallest thing can become a great weakness. The most important thing is that permission was granted. Although despite this, the girl was worried, because Yuri and her family had to move to the capital, and the move alone would cost more than million ruden. The Olympic prize money was million, which is not a pity for the girl, but after spending it all, the heron will be left without the means to support 10 armor. Delza asks not to worry about expenses. The princess will receive million annually. Hearing this, the little girl jumps up and asks again in surprise. The blonde learned all the details, and began jumping for joy. She couldn't help but see the prospects, because she had never even dreamed of such money. The protagonist lies on the grass. He has turned into a human again. This time, he is left with fragmentary memories of bright hair. The maid unilluminates his thoughts with light. The young man wants to remember everything down to the smallest detail, like the honey badger and like a run. He thinks about it until the moment he turns into an animal. Then everything is in the fog. It is not clear where he is. Despite the questions, the boy definitely wants to see Isabella. She is a child who sparkles like the sun, but he does not know who the girl is. The next morning, Baden informs the princess that Yuri and her family have safely arrived in the capital, and her subordinates have gone to provide them with proper assistance. A loud noise is heard outside. The lord asks the girl not to worry, because he himself will go and make sure that everything is in order. There is a red-haired man standing on the street. She is calming a horse that was frightened by hitting the carriage. Isabella is glued to the window and studying it in detail. The person who is special is right in front of her. Her presence cannot be hidden even under silver armor. In the novel, only the captain of the outer defense of Kirin was described like this. The beauty almost immediately jumps out of the carriage and asks if they know who she is. She wants an autograph, her favorite character. It's hard to believe. The young man did not not immediately notice the lady, but he was very lucky, because he wanted to ask for an audience for the first time. A representative of the imperial family asks for a photographer. The little girl rushes forward, and immediately hugs. She has a very original taste, but no one knows what is really behind it. The time comes to go to the castle. Isabella remains next to Kirin. It is impossible to believe that the fan's dream has come true, and you can ride a horse. Yuri is already there, happy to see the princess her mother was safely transported, thanks to her efforts, and she wants to personally thank the hospitable host. The girl wants to say hello, and doesn't hear that she is being asked to wait. She opens the door and freezes. In front of her lies a very pale woman. She has almost no strength. Yuri's mother is ashamed that she couldn't observe the rules of decency. She feels uneasy. The person resembles a past version of Isabella. This look is frightening. It is empty. Maid runs up. She thanks her again for hiring her, and for allowing her to move her entire family to the capital. They will even receive medical benefits at the palace. The beauty looks down. She has managed to completely forget about her pain. Then she clenches her hands and exclaims slightly, as if a blade had touched her body. Even moving is considered unbearable. All this is known because in the past one had to experience aspects of horror. There is no desire to remember this, otherwise it will only get worse. The woman finds the strength to go down the stairs. She is happy that her family has been given another chance. The lady decides to hug her, realizing that she is completely different from the version of herself she was in the past. In that life, the heroine did not want to move. Every movement sent incredible pain through her body. She did not need worthless pity. Everyone around her thought that it was good for them not to be in the same place. Whenever they tried to visit the girl, she always screamed to be left alone. Realizing that most likely they were feeling sorry for her again, she was disgusted by any manifestation of attention. Yuri's mother is completely different. It must be much more difficult for her to be different, but she is stronger in spirit than him, although every movement also gives pain, which makes it difficult to live. The princess wants to help so that she doesn't have to go through all the horrors that befell her. She will do everything possible to try to help her heal. The girl realized that there were always people who cared about her, who wanted her to get better. Even when she behaved like a difficult child, they were still ready to always be there. The reason for the desire to help is that the lady also wants to be useful. Just as she was once helped, she will also give happiness to others. She asks Yuri's mother not to worry. Everything will be fine. The maid, as it turned out, was quite good. She began to try from the very first day. The nanny, entering the kitchen, saw how she was preparing a dessert for her highness. On the face there is a mask. When sodium bicarbonate is added to heated sugar, it breaks down into glucose, and carbon dioxide is an auxiliary gas. The princess is invited to try the masterpiece. When she sees the tray, she can't believe her eyes. In front of her is Dalgona. She has never eaten anything like it. It tastes very sweet. The beauty hugs Yuri. They will study together, and if the desserts are so to your liking, they will be prepared in double size. An incredible talent has been discovered. 6 months fly by. Attempts to find an armor were unsuccessful, but despite this, the days became brighter. Soon the lady turned years old. The girl comes to the teacher, who is surprised, because the lesson has not yet begun. The little girl pulls out a teleportation gate from behind her back, which she finally completed. Journalist from the news outlet Whisper, who recently wrote an article about the princess's first place finish at the Olympics, promised in his vlog that he would come to work early, because his bosses wanted to talk about the imperial family. The man became aggressive. He put everyone in an awkward position, because he wrote a questionable article. It was as if he forgot that he was sponsored by the tower. He was advised to keep a low profile, so as not to accidentally get into trouble. The journalist didn't know what to do, since he didn't want to distort the truth as it was. The man understands that he now faces a choice, because the presentation of a new teleport created by the royal family is scheduled for that day. Isabella looks sad. She didn't think about who would be the first tester. She was so focused on finishing the job that she missed the most important thing. The portal needed to be tested before the demonstration. She was obsessed with the idea that everyone could use the teleport. The inhabitants of the empire don't like the potential threat of becoming lab rats. Baton wants to protect the lady, but she asks him not to draw his sword. They just expressed concern. The girl is fine. No one said anything bad. The primary users of teleportation will be ordinary citizens of the empire. Their opinions must be heard and taken into account for improvement. The emperor arrived, and his daughter complained to him that she had not thought about who would be the first tester. It would be better to disassemble the device and present it after the final check. Violet Ian suggests testing the transition on themselves, but Baitan believes that this is unacceptable. No one has a body like theirs, and it is different from that of ordinary people, so the test will be positive, and therefore inconclusive. The Empress steps forward. She is not from a line of swordsmen, and does not have outstanding physical qualities, so she is ideal for the role of tester. The beauty believes that nothing like this will happen, because the teleport was created by her daughter. She is not volunteering thoughtlessly. After all, Tai Slan and Karen worked with her, and they are geniuses. The lady believes in her daughter. She looks around the crowd. It seems that no one is against what the woman is going to do. The time comes to go inside. Isabella isn't sure. Her head knows it's safe, but her heart is screaming the opposite. Maybe there's an error in the formulas and the device won't work as it should. The level of anxiety is rising inside. Thoughts are screaming that the Empress will not be okay. Ron takes the girl by the hand. There is no need to be afraid. You just need to believe in yourself. Time passes. People start whispering. The strange thing is that Her Majesty does not come out. If the teleport works correctly, she should have gotten back out a long time ago. something went wrong. Suddenly, a snowball flies towards Ron. The woman appears. She smiles. Everything went as expected. The girl is completely fine, and there is no need to doubt the teleportation anymore. The lady embraces her husband. The peasants understand that all this means one thing. The gates will now be accessible to them. The young man blushes and asks the Empress to calm down. She laughs lightly. A voice comes from the crowd. A man asks to try too. He and his team are workers from the Herve mountain range. They are proud and happy to love and protect the mountains. Steep, dangerous slopes make the work more difficult. Deadly snowstorms leave grave consequences. But despite this, they endure, taking pride in their work. No one could have imagined that the teleportation gate would allow quick access to the mountains after the day when the opportunity was finally presented. The workers' lives would change degrees. The news writer knows how to spin the story correctly. An untested teleportation gate, designed by a 7-year-old, turns imperial citizens into test subjects. The girl doesn't know what awaits her. She remembers how she was expressed gratitude for the innovation. She created this as a truly significant day in her life. Suddenly a noise is heard. Kim Honeybye runs down the corridor. He runs away from the knight, who tries in vain to catch him. The baby jumps into the arms of the beauty. She asks what is happening. The man asks to hand over the animal. He stole gold coins from the imperial treasury. The blonde scolds him. Stealing is strictly forbidden. Isabella is a miser, which means she needs money for joy. The lady is glad that they thought of her, but it is still wrong. Trying to bring joy in a bad way is bad. It confuses even Violet E and herself, and even more so everyone else. The baby looks into her eyes. As usual, he tries to make her feel sorry, but she can't give in to her feelings. The lady orders him to go to the corner, stand facing the wall, and raise his paws. In the evening after Isabella went to rest, Honey was still wondering why he had upset his mistress. In the corridor, he met the Emperor, and immediately began to growl, but in fact, no one intended to harm him. The gentleman has long wanted to know whether the honey badger is a black dragon protecting the king's family. He does not remember this. Perhaps it is true, but the memories do not immediately come to mind. In the morning, the beauty wakes up, quickly washes herself, finishes all her procedures, and then, with the help of her magic, she is transformed into a completely different person. Her hair darkens. The Lord enters the room. As expected, the freckles suit the lady's face, as if stars were scattered across her scarlet cheeks. The little girl says that the image of the young man also suits him very well. Before leaving, you should eat. Sitting down at the table, the girl asks if she can be of help. She will help, although the man begins to regret that he brought the girl with him. Since this is how it happened, he harbors hope for good moments, after which good memories will remain. The Lord will be there, and will ensure the safety and security of Her Highness. Last time, the dialgona that Yuri made was delicious. Next time I should ask her what kind of snack she likes so I can make something in return. The girl sees two maids in front of her. They are discussing the fact that the kingdom of Alifur turned to the Tower of Magicians for support. They had an earthquake. Although the queen predicted what would happen and evacuated everyone, paranormal things began to happen. Volunteers come from all over the world, but nothing helps. We have to turn to the magic tower. The problem is that the magicians are not going to cooperate, and no one knows what to do anymore. The girl almost immediately ran to her father. She expressed her desire to go help in the affected area. He reacted strangely. Your desire is ridiculous. The mistake is that the lady considers herself a magician, but first of all she is a princess. The blonde is against it. In such situations, it seems, it does not matter who the person is by status. What is important is to act. It is possible to send help on behalf of the princess. She wants something else, but no one listens. You are only 7 years old. Be kind, because you act in accordance with your age. The Empress tries to cheer up her daughter. She is still very young. That place is too dangerous. Even if she grew up, it would still be difficult to let Isabella go to her fate. Baitun watches the lady sleep in the evening. She really is a ray of sunshine. Her desires are understandable, but it is better to try to understand the point of view of adults. The blonde shrinks and begins to toss and turn. She is experiencing nightmares again, but lately they have become more frequent. The Lord wants to help her see pleasant dreams. The man is already raising his hand, when tears begin to well up in his eyes. Isabella begins to whine. She does not want to be hated. She asks for everything to be good, and for her to be accepted. Very soon, Baitun moved to His Majesty's office. Judging by the expression on his face, the matter was directly related to Violet Ian Jr. They should discuss it. The man is going to be on the princess's side. The Emperor doesn't even pay attention. If it's about the conversation the lady started at dinner, then there's nothing more to say about it. The lady has always wanted to help people. She wants to be useful, most likely. She wants the same in the case of volunteering. The gentleman does not change his mind. This nonsense is completely unconvincing. It's enough that anyone can use the portal previously. The teleport was only available to members of the imperial family. In fact, deep down, the assistant agrees with the Emperor. The princess cannot be helped in such a dangerous place. No one is sure what she is planning. Despite the fact that the young man is against it, he is not sure whether it is right to impose the judgments of adults on Isabella. She is special and lives quickly, thinks deeply. Nobody understands the true intentions, however. One would like to hope that the lady will do the right thing. She always chooses the best. The latest newspaper articles are teeming with news about the earthquake that happened. The lady doesn't show it, but in fact she is very worried. The Emperor breathes a sigh of relief. I can sort this out. We need to not block such articles, but understand that this is a minority opinion, and the humanitarian mission will be an opportunity opportunity to prove it, then it will become easier for His Highness. A man will no longer have to dig through books, looking for something like calming tea that is safe for small children. Serna will be worried if her daughter is on a mission. Baden finds an answer even to this. He will go with Isabella, will always be there, and will not take his eyes off her. All this time, the Empress was standing outside the door. She enters her husband's office. She is silent, looking at the two standing inside. The blonde comes inside. She asks if she can join the conversation. After all, they are talking about Isabella, and this is important. People walk back and forth carrying bags filled with trash and debris, and there is devastation all around, but that is no reason not to try to unload the trash. The little girl was transformed and went out into the street with Baton. People were cheerful. The condition was much better than expected. They say no one was seriously injured, and everything looks like an ordinary construction site. The man assumes that it is all thanks to the Holy Queen Rayleigh. The woman stands on top of one of the buildings and monitors how the work is carried out. She rules the kingdom of Alife, and it was she who managed to analyze seismic waves long before the earthquake, based on which she managed to evacuate all the inhabitants. Shelters, food supplies, everything was prepared. She personally supervised the restoration work. Thanks to the queen, the city escaped with minor losses. The little girl wants to help as soon as possible. The lord advises finding the boss. The villagers are having stewed beef for lunch, apparently with butter, but the boss likes everything indiscriminately. Everyone should be grateful to the queen. Only in this affected region can they feed so deliciously. The worker's gaze falls on the child. It turns out that the girl is from the Violetian family. She came specifically to provide assistance. They say that she has magic. Someone snorts. All the mediocrities are written down in a special column of arts. One commoner is better than one aristocrat, because they usually do not provide proper assistance. The boss thinks that the girl should quickly roll back to her palace. When the little girl was shown her place, she found it exciting, because cooking for people is always the most important and pleasant thing. Baden can rest. Come for the lady later. The young man does not want to leave. He will stay nearby and help people, but he does not intend to stay too close so as not to confuse others with security. The beauty knows that she has a choice of what can be done. Unfortunately, she is not strong enough to carry groceries. Cutting ingredients is too much, and she is too short to stir the soup. The decision was made to go ask the workers. The little girl asks if there is anything she can do to help. One of them asks for water, as it is hot near the stove. The girl herself was sweating while she was near the stove. She had an idea, so the heroine takes out a stone. It is a magic crystal. It's worth investing a little mana. After which the stone studies the cold. The magic spreads, forcing everyone around to look towards the heroine. The woman shouts that they have a sorceress who has a stone. It blows cool air. Some were already going to rest, and now they can continue working. Baden steps forward and begins to sing odes to the princess and her magical abilities. Unlike the other magicians, the little one shares her knowledge. Hector, the foreman of the arty section, approaches the beauty. He has been watching her. The brunette is a magician. It is true, she has certain abilities. Since the beauty is very talented, they want to ask her for a favor. There is a place where help is needed, and they cannot do without the magical powers of art. There is nothing difficult for the girl. She is going to do what has been prepared for her. Of course this will not be a problem. The smile becomes even wider. The heroine prepared crystals with mana, so that the magic would continue to work without her, after which she went with Brigadier Hector, and what she saw there greatly impressed the lady. The gentleman points forward, and as you can see, they have a rather unpleasant situation. The worst affected area requires a lot of work, but it is progressing very slowly. Pulling blocks without a crane is very difficult with technomagic. A crane could be assembled. The gap between the levels of civilization is truly enormous. There are winches in total. There are a lot of them, which means the lady can handle it quite quickly. She doesn't think she'll need materials, she only needs magic. The brunette inspects the structure. First, she'll try it on a light winch. She's already figured out the principle. Just install a motor, and then it will rotate on its own. After a little while, everything was finished. Hector was called to check. The man finally raised his hand. At the last moment, the princess asked not to tell anyone if suddenly nothing works out. The boy laughs and then pulls the rope. This is the girl's first time, so she did not quite control the mana. Because of this, he fell to the ground. The pain is not a problem. The most important thing is that the rope is held with one hand. The stone is still in the air. It's incredible. There's nothing to apologize for. The leader asks everyone to stop. The magician will help with all the tasks. People do not understand. The tower seems to have refused to help. Baitun explains that this girl is from the Empire. The beauty wants to get to work quickly, so that she can begin the remaining tasks. First, she sent the lord away from the people, and then cast magic on the remaining winches. There's no need to overexert yourself. Physical work takes its toll the next day. There's so much to do, and the lady is running around with a shovel. It looks like she's enjoying it. She's out of breath, but her heart doesn't hurt, and she has no problems with her joints. The main thing is to help people. At night, the princess dreams about her past. It is always painful for her to remember how, because of problems, she could not even move, constantly lying on a hospital bed. At night, the girl is visited by Kim Honeybai. Surprisingly, the baby only strokes her head, but her condition already improves, and the fear seems to be relieved only by her presence. The honey badger is a symbol of courage, as he shares his calm with others. He truly has a powerful aura. He is not an ordinary animal, and the heroine will always be grateful for the support she receives. For Isabella, her friend is absolutely priceless. The girl hugs him closer to herself. She is glad that she found an animal that treats her like this. The heroine suggests making a promise to each other. In the wild, a honey badger lives an average of years, while in humans, it lives up to 24. Kim Honey received a name and became part of the family, which means he can live all. The beauty has years left. She wants the animal to outlive her. This is a selfish request for him to always be nearby, but perhaps he will agree. It is nice to be nearby. A run turns into a human. He returns to his mother. The woman was worried that the boy would be late. She cannot help but worry, because the honey badger was chosen as the form. He always goes into trouble. Camellia is glad that her son has only good memories. He enjoys being in the animal's body, and every day is different from the others. The brunette feels cheerful and light. The power of emotions is stronger than the power of memories. Emotions will always be stronger, especially when an important person is nearby. Everything that happens is stored as a feeling. This power allows him to grow like a proper dragon. The honey badger has a great time. He likes to acquire new skills and develop. The mother wants to check what her child has experienced. If the memories were in the way, they would be erased. But Arun knows how to hide them. She is not hostile towards him. She only wants to help. After examining the young man's head, the girl smiles. He will gain experience that is inaccessible to an ordinary dragon. Maybe he too will become as great as the lady, still in the future. Kim Honeybai is going to rest. He remembered, but not everything. He must always be close to the princess. She asked to stay with her for the remaining years. The heroine doesn't want to be alone. She's afraid to think about the future. For Isabella's sake, the dragon is obliged to think about Kim Honeybai. He won't lose his identity, but will be unique. The support will be provided in the best possible way. The young lady values her friend more than anyone else, and he, in both his guises, will definitely do everything in the best possible way. Woman comes to the library. Her sister, Lavina, is there. It's better to greet her a little more joyfully, because after all, they haven't seen each other for quite a long time. The blonde snorts. The maiden's weak flame only tickles. She will not release the fire. The sister asks why the mistress behaves like this. She wants to call herself the greatest black dragon. However, the lady came to the wise Lavina for advice. She truly knows no shame. This time there is no way to do without help. The discussion of a run begins. The blonde asks a direct question, because if something serious happened to the dragon, everyone would be in an uproar. The boy remembers his life as a honey badger and hides the truth from his mother, and she pretends not to notice, so he will lose his dragon essence and become the same as Camellia. While in the body of an animal, the young man often meets with Isabella. She even gave him a name, so the boy considers her special. For the same reason he hides his memories. The brunette is lost, but will follow her sister's advice. She also had a teenage dragon period when it was difficult to make decisions. Avalanche will definitely help her. Dragons, unlike people, are not tied to blood ties upon reaching perfection. They become completely independent. Even relatives are simply kinsmen for them. Camellia continues to call Lavina a sister. She wants a run to be considered an FU. This is a consequence of the fact that she grew up with a shaky perception of herself as a dragon. Maybe the boy should erase his memories. There was one dragon who survived teenage rebellion for almost 100 years. He ran around like a human, and then still retained his dragon essence. For Run, just like him, is confident in his goal, which means he is unlikely to lose himself. You need to see Isabella and the honey badger in person. The princess meets with the queen, and is happy to see in person the one who predicted the earthquake. At first glance, the girl is cute, however. She is from the Violet Ian clan. There's a high probability that her image is carefully thought out, and besides, she is a genius who took first place in the Olympics. Last night the baby was in pain. She hoped that she was as strong as her father, but it was a mistake. Her body was not so ready for it. The residents will be moved to the castle. The lady wants to know something else. The day of the last meeting of the Council of Kings ended unexpectedly quickly. We need to find out what happened that night. His Majesty, who knows no fatigue, suddenly decided to end the meeting early that day. He said he was tired. It was the little girl's birthday. Then, her father arranged a surprise for her, or rather a secret party. The brunette does not believe that the emperor ended the meeting just for this. Shrugging, the girl notes that another reason could be the fact that there aren't many birthdays left, so people have started to treat her more carefully. The heroine asks her not to feel sorry for her. She spends her days quite happily. Isabella came to volunteer just like that. She needs a special reason. We must do everything we can while we have time, which is much shorter than everyone else's. Hector said that the princess has shown herself to be excellent, and will continue to be just as reliable. The girl keeps records. They go the same way. As usual, first the lady helps in the kitchen, and then goes to fix the pulley. She has a new friend, and this is joyful. When all the tasks that required the magician's assistant were completed, the beauty began to actively help. Physically, a healthy body is the best. One cannot help but adore it. Her muscles ache again. Her arms can barely lift, and her hands shake with every movement. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. Time to go to bed. The little girl remembers that Kim Honeybai comes at exactly o'clock. Morning comes. The baby still hasn't arrived in the evening. Baden visits the lady. It seems that she didn't sleep well. The honey badger is nowhere to be seen. This makes him worry. The lord still asks not to worry. He has not seen anyone as brave as Kim Honeybai. The sir can go looking for him. He is on vacation. plenty of free time. The young man is next to the princess, precisely because he is on vacation. He is supposed to be relaxing somewhere at a resort. He doesn't care. The main thing is that Isabella is nearby. The hero declares that he wants to start the game Find the Honey Badger. He can't wait. The young lady can eat alone. She should enjoy her vacation. The animal will be caught and will definitely be brought back. The man doesn't understand where to look for the impudent honeybee. He didn't let the princess get enough sleep, and on the street, as usual, there are people going about their business. Very soon, everyone gathered together. Baton stands in front of the stranger, all because the blonde was holding a blade in his hands. He pointed it at the girl. The lady is holding a honey badger in her hands. She is the gentleman's old teacher. He has apparently grown up, or forgotten how he got into trouble last time when he tried to be cheeky. Still, the student has to shed blood. The difference in strength, even after many years, is still colossal. Baton falls to his knees. He gets worse, all because of the wound. Isabella calls out to the Lord, making her way through the noisy crowd. The first thing she saw was a wounded man. There was a lot of blood around. It was not clear how to help. A voice comes from the opposite direction. A man standing nearby is holding a honey badger in his arms, asking if the princess is the owner of the lost animal. The body doesn't obey. I want to cry, but I have to force myself to move on. Isabella is obliged to save her friend. She needs to move forward, not show her stupid weaknesses. The creature bit the stranger. She wants compensation. The Lord rises to his feet, but is asked to step back and put away his sword. Violet Ian will deal with everything herself. The address is bold. It is strange that the lady believes that mercy will follow because of her status. The little girl understands all this. In the second half of the work, there was a minor character who appeared briefly. Before the heroine, Duchess Robinet, who had entered into a contract with Argon, was the ruler of the Heavenly Isle and above the northern continent and the Hervridge. The principle is this: a debt is always returned tenfold. The woman wants to get down to numbers. She needs to find out what the princess will offer in exchange for the life of an insignificant honey badger. The princess will give up her last year of life. Everyone knows what the mark of Anar of Idal is. If you come to the temple, you can get An that has not yet fallen. It is capable of working miracles. Because of the mark, children often become victims of traffickers, used as sacrificial lambs, because they bring wealth and good luck. If the lady had not lived in such a status, everything could have ended much worse. Although this does not mean that she will be pitied, it seems that the heroine is confused about something. Robinet is unhappy with what is happening. Promises are not enough. A year of life is not equal to the life of a honey badger, especially considering that she is a princess. Walking forward, the woman offers an exchange for years. It would be fair. The little girl nods without thinking twice. She is not going to back down. The baby is brave, as if she doesn't know any fear, but she can't give up her years yet. Robina looks menacingly. Don't try to fool me. The girl explains that she has obligations that she cannot abandon. She promised Uncle Hector that the lifting mechanism needs to be strengthened every day. For now, they need to stay in the village, but as a guarantee, the lady hands over a wreath that she made with honey bee. The Duchess accepts the thing, asking how much time it will take. Hector thinks the longer the better, but without additives. 5 days is enough, after which the woman throws out the honey badger. They will see each other in days. The heroine grabs the baby. She hugs him, while Byron apologizes. Everything happened because of him. The lady does not think so. This is not your fault. You know that. The man clenches his fist tightly. He swore to protect the beauty with his own life, but in the end he couldn't even do that. It hurts his heart. The heroine was caught in the desert. He will not say much. If the lady takes years of her life, they will also take her head. The woman does not understand, because with the princess, what will happen to her then? The man directly explains that the Duchess is his enemy. 5 years cannot be that important. The one hiding under the cloak is definitely pursuing some hidden motives. The hood is suddenly torn down, and the emperor appears before the woman. For him, his daughter is the most important thing. He has been watched for decades, but this is the first time he appears like this. A mixture of fear burns in the gentleman's eyes. She immediately rejoices, because this has never happened before. The blonde comes forward. She replies that it doesn't mean anything. In any case, the girl understood everything. She asks to take away the threatening sword. She refuses the idea of taking away years of the life of precious Isabella. The dragon wonders what would have happened if she hadn't retreated. Perhaps the master would have really gone all the way. She laughs. It was amazing that Ron had learned all the truths of fear, all because of a tiny girl. Before this, the man in the cloak had been awkwardly hiding in the shadows, and now he had come out. The emperor has always been one who has transcended the limits of humanity, but even so, he is filled with love for his daughter, who has become the most precious thing to him. The blonde repeats again that she will not take away years of life, but something needs to be checked. She hopes that His Majesty will provide assistance. Wave of admiration spread through the village. People thought the girl was hiding her age, but it turned out that she really was a 7-year-old sorceress. The reason why the princess hid her identity is quite obvious. She did not want the servants to feel uncomfortable. Her intentions cannot be doubted. The reporter arrived to find out the details, but he was ordered to put his notebook away and first find out more about the truth instead of slandering the princess. The man doesn't know how to write the right material, because the more he learns about the lady, the more good things they say about her. The princess is a wonderful person. The beauty found a free minute to chat with the arriving reporter. In the kitchen, she had already replenished CB Run's magic stone and cast a spell on the block, so all urgent matters were settled. Time passed. The capital was then buzzing with articles about how the emperor's daughter had experienced the hardships of labor. They say that of her remaining time, she promised to devote years to Robinet. Nevertheless, there was a smile on her face. Yuri is so immersed in his thoughts that he doesn't hear anything at all. They start a conversation, but an alarm signal is heard, its bright sound spreading throughout the castle. Sir Bai Tun came into the room and said that he needed to leave for a while. Something terrible had happened. It was no small thing. Monsters had appeared. For Cyclops, the princess jumps up. There is a protective barrier, but because of the clash between His Majesty and the Duchess, everything went wrong. A man arrived in the village, but no one knew about it. A powerful magical strike caused a breach in the barrier, which seemed to have attracted the Cyclops that lived nearby, and the battle had already begun. The knights have been sent, but their forces may not be enough. One monster is in the east, another in the west, south and north, all attacking the gates to get inside. The eastern gate is in the greatest danger. However, everything should be fine, because His Majesty is there. He will solve all the problems. The young man is alone, but his strength is quite sufficient. The girl knows everything. Ron is the strongest in the world, and he can deal with a first-class monster alone without any problems. The princess, despite everything, is afraid that her father will suffer. She tries to calm down. She should wait and believe in the master instead of trembling with fear and sitting in the corner. If anything happens, the sir will be able to fight the Cyclops, in which case, the girl asks him to go to the gate in the south and help people as best he can. He knew that the lady would ask for this, but she should stay in the castle. The queen asks if reinforcements have been called to the northern wall. The situation at the gate is critical. It is extremely difficult to transfer troops. The woman doesn't know what to do. Maybe she should go there and at least distract the monsters herself. The magic owl remains silent. For the first time, there is only a feeling of helplessness inside. A situation occurs. The princess disappeared and left behind only a note. Having learned about what was happening outside, she went to defend the northern gate. According to the maid, the beauty left so quietly that no one even noticed, which makes you want to scream. After all, the girl should have been kept an eye on. Vibrations are heard. The walls shake more violently. Even the blows alone become terrifying. The princess is definitely in danger. All troops are ordered to destroy the Cyclops and head for the northern gate. The girl goes outside and looks around. The situation is really desperate. She needs to hold on for a bit. She hears footsteps behind her. She is not alone. Yuri approaches with Honeybee. The reporter explains that he asked for an audience with Rayleigh for a reason. He needed to report on the situation in the kingdom of Lifa. The woman listened to the young man's request and smiled. She had already seen how the newspaper was slandering the achievements of the princess, who, on the contrary, was trying hard. The lady doesn't care what the newspapers write, because Vela Ian is acting like a member of the royal family. He is one of those who have caved in, so he still doesn't understand. The brunette is ready to take a risk, anything for the sake of a good article. He will write about everything without exception. The girl turns to Honey. She needs to know what happened that made him decide to come back. The brave little boy is about to go into battle, and later he will be reminded of how he bit Duchess Robinet. They say that the northern wall is the highest and strongest, and climbing up, the heroine was convinced that this was true. Still, even such a majestic wall can be destroyed by monsters, but the princess will not give in to fear. She goes up and sees Bai Tun. The girl was stubborn as always. It was clear that she would run away from the castle immediately after the assistant left. Isabella planned to escape to the northern gate. A man respects a beauty, so he worries about her too. He wants her to always be okay. Lifting the lady into his arms, the teacher asks if everything is okay. Her legs are shaking a little, but it is just from fear. The conversation is interrupted by a menacing howl. A growl sounds directly overhead. Turning, the two look at the Cyclops, who has just reached the gate markings. The animal gets angry. In this state, it sometimes jumps high, and that is exactly what happened this time. Baton deftly jumps to the side. First they will have to dodge the attack. The princess has come up with an idea how to stop the monster. She asks to listen. Isabella has a plan, but it could put her in danger. She needs to be careful, but the Lord doesn't mind, because he knows he'll be rescued anyway. The brunette sounds confident when she asks to let her go to the floor and distract the Cyclops. The one-eyed giant is a warm-blooded monster. He prefers warmth, which means the cold is fatal for him. The girl has ice magic, so she will use it to her advantage. She won't be able to defeat him, but she can certainly delay him, which will make things easier for everyone else. Bai Tun smiles and promises that he will do everything exactly as it should be. After these words, he jumps forward. The Cyclops is below. The princess has a more important mission ahead of her. She needs to concentrate. The main thing is to prevent the Lord from ending up in danger. Casting combat spells is not working, but this is not a death sentence. The best thing is to imagine something cold. A refrigerator is not considered serious. You need something that can stop the movement of the monster. Something so big that his huge body cannot get out as needed, and then freeze the hot blood. It is better to imagine the Arctic. The lady had never been to the frozen continent, but every day she dreamed of eating an ice block. In the world of ice, where icebergs drift beyond the horizon, there's not a single living soul. The Arctic ice never melts, and the girl takes advantage of her advantageous position and does everything possible to make her dream a reality. Baton distracts the monster. As he expected, this is not an ordinary one-eyed giant. There's a strange symbol of death on his shoulder. He is huge. The man doesn't understand how much longer he can hold on. It becomes clear that his strength will soon run out, but then everything around him begins to freeze. The lady is incredible. An endless amount of peas appears around. The taste is reminiscent of beans with milk. Even at such a moment, the lady thinks about dessert. The magical effect is massive, but holding back the magic is too dangerous. Everything needs to be stopped immediately. While the little girl is pondering what topping to add, the princess is asked to stop. She herself did not notice how blood started to flow from her nose. She loses consciousness. Bai Tun picks her up in his arms at the last moment. Hypothermia occurs. Honey looks into his owner's eyes. He sees that she is not well, so immediately